Hello, everybody. Hi, welcome to Case by Case. I'm Amy. Glad you guys can join me tonight. Welcome to the Vault. Tonight, I'm starting a series on the Delphi Murders. We are going to do a comprehensive deep dive into this case, and I have to give a huge shout out right off the rip to Deeds, one of the researchers who helps behind the scenes. We have a voluminous, whatever words you want to use. We have a astronomical amount of research starting from day one. We're going to go back to day one, as I've been saying from the very beginning, that going back to the beginning, moving forward, we might be able to uncover some things that we've missed along the way, and critical thinkers like me and you guys all in the chat, hopefully we can come up with, maybe more answers than what we were left with after the trial. So welcome in. I just have to go over a couple little things that I want to touch base on before we dive in. Number one is I have a 2-strike rule. Everybody used to be respectful. You can have different of opinions. You guys can debate. We can disagree to agree. But we're going to keep it respectful in the chat. If you're coming in to troll or create issues, my mods will time you out for 2 minutes. If you come back in, you will be expected to behave. If you don't for a second time, you'll be removed from the live for the night. I just feel like that's a fair warning, and we're all adults here. We can all get along. So just wanted to throw that out there. Please be respectful to my mods. Also, I know that everybody does their live shows differently. For me, what I'm going to do is I won't spend, as much as I appreciate everyone who's here, I will not spend a half hour or so going through and calling everybody out that's in chat. I'm just going to say welcome in. Love you all. I hope you enjoy the conversation that we're going to have. But for those of you who watch live shows on replays, you turn them on and you fast forward that intro. So just want to let you know, I'm not going to be doing that. But welcome in, everybody. Questions, important statements, please use your super chats or your super stickers. This series we'll do hopefully once a week. Once we've gone through 3 or 4, what I will then do is hold a members only live Q&A to discuss everything that we've gone over in the live. So I hope that makes sense. And the other thing that I wanted to announce is next Saturday, which is April 12th, next Saturday in the evening, I'm guessing around the 7 o'clock mark. I'm waiting to get answer back from him, but next Saturday, we will be doing a special live with a special guest. Dr. Silkman will be here. Dr. Silkman is from Australia. He has touched base with us before on this channel in regards to Ashley Garth's case. Dr. Silkman has a major in biochemistry and genetics from the University of Adelaide in Australia. He has a PhD in molecular genetics. He has worked in a DNA lab for a very, very long time. He is an associate lecturer, and he has done a postdoctoral research fellowship for 5 years at the Department of Biochemistry. He will be here next week to do a deep dive coverage on the Delphi case. He will be answering questions regarding the DNA. He will be going over all of the PCR tests. He'll be going over all of the things that I think we all want answers to. He is not an expert on the Delphi case, as he is not an expert on any case, but he is very, very educated when it comes to DNA, and he can answer a lot of questions for us. So next weekend, that will be the guest speaker on the show. And tonight, joining me is Cherie and Streets of Bakerfield, and there might be one more joining us, but we are going to jump in and get started with this?
Potential case, 2 missing juveniles. Abigail Joyce Williams.
It's getting scared now. It's getting cold.
Liberty Rose Lynn German.
Missing, abducted, we don't know for sure.
Last seen at the High Bridge in Delphi, Indiana.
Delphi is just not one of those places where any of us ever thought that something like this would happen.
Despite that video, despite that audio, nothing happens, seemingly, for 6 years.
The judge did find probable cause for an arrest of Richard Allen. He's been charged with 2 counts of murder for the murder of Abigail Williams and Liberty German.
Richard Allen, you child murderer! Why did you do it?
No. They got the wrong guy. There's no way.
There are other people who were looked at for this.
Shame on you!
It's some sort of a religious sect/cult
Shame on you, Richard!
that follow Odinism.
Shame on you, Richard Allen!
I believe they sacrificed a girl and killed another one.
And law enforcement insists no one's ever been cleared.
Baldwin, can you provide any comment?
Journalism. It's time for you guys to start being journalists.
Ooh, there's a camera. Hello.
There we go.
I'll try.
I'm trying to fit us all on. There we go. Welcome in, everybody. Tonight's live is going to be rather unique, in depth. Like I said, we're going to go all the way back to the very beginning of the case. I want to introduce Streets of Bakerfield. Say hello.
Hello.
Cherie, say hello.
Hello.
We have, for those of you who are new to the case, I feel like this is going to be a very important series for you because there's so much involved in this case. You can kind of do like a brief overview from beginning to end. You're still never going to understand why this case has become such an obsession for a lot of people. And I think what I'm going to try to do is capture why this case has become so important to everybody here. And we're going to go down a lot of rabbit holes. I want to say this first and foremost, that my channel is not, we're not conspiracy theorists here. We like facts, but you have to take the facts and you have to take the speculation around those facts. And you got to deal with all of it for it all to make sense. And what I plan to present throughout this series is basically all of the information that's become available over the years. And you guys, as critical thinkers, researchers, I know other creators watch this channel. My videos, I'm giving everyone permission right now. You feel free to use excerpts, screenshots from my videos. I'm not going to be,
Careful.
I'm not going to be copy striking anybody for using any of my stuff. I'm going to be fair. So I'm throwing all that out there, and that's what we're here to do tonight. Streets, do you have anything to say?
No. I mean,
no? Oh, sorry.
I don't think that I know everything about this case. I don't know who did it. I still think that there's possibly Richard Allen could have done it. But when the trial happened, when you're doing all this research for years and years and years, you find solace in the fact that there will be a trial and we will get some answers, and we didn't get any answers. So now it's time just to go back to the beginning and get the answers ourselves.
Exactly.
As a group, we've done I see people in this chat that I have seen in chats for 8 years, 7 years, 6 years. You know what I mean? And we all want answers. But yeah, that's what I think.
Mm-hmm. Cherie?
I think Michael is backstage, or I should say. We have a guest, I should say.
Yeah. There he is. Hi, Michael.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Hello, Mr. Osbrook.
Hi, it's Michael. Mr.
Michael.
Osbrook's father.
Sorry. The first responder thing, my bad.
So yeah, I mean, I'm with you on. I don't know who did it. I feel like they're, in my opinion changes weekly, to be honest, on where I feel the focus needs to lie. So I feel like that's why it's best that we go back to the beginning here and we start with that day, like literally that day. We start with what we know. And this is the first episode. And I've been working on this kind of all week and literally all day today. Unfortunately, I have a big girl job. I have to work a real job. So I got to fit all of this in and also balance life and, my animals and the hubby and my kids. So tonight is just literally the tip of the iceberg on that first day. And what I try to do today is throw in all of the little intricate things about what we've heard over the years, some of the different interviews, and a lot of the things that stood out that made everybody question the family. Do we believe the family should be questioned? Do we believe that the family is involved? All of those things are things that I've really tried to be respectful and steer away from. However, like I said, you have to entertain the speculation with the facts. And that's what I plan on doing today. So you guys are ready? Michael, do you have anything to add at the beginning here before we get started?
I think the only thing I'm going to add is I'm excited about this because going back to the beginning, you all know the facts better than I do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, going back right now through all of this stuff. I mean, you see it over the course of time, but you forget. And then when you kind of have, I've been blessed with a couple of people who've came into, my sphere here, who's really helped contribute to giving me everything kind of like in a chronological order. And I'm starting to put it all back together in order. And even going back through it now, I'm like, oh my gosh, I completely forgot about this, or I forgot that was said, or this is a screenshot that I've never seen before. So that's why I'm going to try to kind of like compile it all together. So it's all in one place. And the PowerPoint presentation that I created starting with this stuff today, I'm just going to keep just this one and I'm going to add to it. So over the course of weeks, months, because there's enough here to cover the details of this case. This series can go on for a very long time. I'm going to compile it all in one place. That way I have it. I'm not, normally what I do is I create a PowerPoint for each episode that I do. I just feel like with this, I'm just going to continue to add and keep it all in one place in chronological order. And, someone ever down the road needs me to share it, I can share it. So let's get into it.
I will say one thing, and that is I may know a few things that might put an end to some of the branches of the theorizing.
Okay, that's perfect, because there's so much in this case that, we really need to start eliminating some of these tentacles or these rabbit holes and really focus on important things. So as we go on, if you have anything to start off the bat with, go right ahead.
No, I don't have anything to start off with. I'm not going to interrupt your presentation.
Okay.
We can talk about it all. We can talk about it all as you go along.
Okay.
Just for curiosity brings up a good point. I've always wondered that too. If Anna lived right down the road, why didn't they call Anna first? Why did they call Mike first? They could have been at Anna's house.
Mm-hmm. Well, We're going to get into all of that. Let me see here. Okay. So this is the Delphi Vault. We are opening the vault to everything under the sun Delphi. Rabbit holes, theories, facts, truths, audio, visual, photographs, screenshots. I'm going to try to compile it all right here in one place. I truly, truly believe that the key to solving this crime lies in the days and weeks immediately following the report of 2 missing teen Delphi girls. In this series, we are going to review the case and all of the events that have led to this investigation into the chaos. We are going to start right now with the audio from that very first day. There's always been a question as to what they said the girls were wearing when they went missing. So we're going to go over the police scanning audio, which I guess you can say is the most factual evidence that we have of what the girls were reported wearing the day that they went missing.
We know.
1 second here. Oh, still getting good at this, guys. Give me 1 second here. All right, I got to share my screen. Sorry about that. Let me share my screen. Can everybody see my screen?
I can see it.
Okay.
Sister 14, essential locate 2 missing juveniles. Essential locate 2 missing juveniles. Liberty Rose Lynn German. Liberty Rose Lynn German. Date of birth 12/27/2002. 5'4", 200 pounds. Blonde and blue. Subject was last seen wearing a tie-dye shirt with that is fringed at the bottom. Gray sweatpants with black writing and black shoes.
That's Libby. Now we're going to bump up to Abby.
Yeah, turn it up a little bit. I know it's a scanner, so it's...
It won't go any louder. This was the original audio, so it won't go any louder. That's why I have the closed captions on.
Go to work myself.
Second juvenile, Abigail Joyce Williams. Abigail Joyce Williams, date of birth 6/23/2003. 5'4", blonde hazel. Subject was last seen wearing a gray zip up sweatshirt and a red shirt with a red shirt under it and jeans.
So that's what we have with the audio. So we've got Libby, 5'4", 200 pounds. She's wearing a tie-dye shirt with fringe on the bottom, gray sweatpants. It has always been discussed that that Libby had on black sweatpants. But according to the police scanner, and I'm assuming that the information on that day came directly from the family, that she was wearing gray sweats with black writing. Abby, they had Abby's description fairly right. Abigail Joyce Williams, 5'4", blonde hair, hazel eyes. She was wearing a gray zip-up sweatshirt, red shirt underneath, and jeans. Any comment on that?
The obvious comment is, that's not what they were found in.
Well, no, it's not what the girls were found in at all. And but as far as I think the biggest discrepancy is the pants that Abby had on, which, does everybody agree in the chat that it was always reported that she had on black sweats? Or am I mistaken?
It was gray sweats with black writing up one of the legs.
So the gray sweats with black writing was correct, because I always thought it was black sweats.
No, it's always been gray sweats with black writing, but then when they did the trial and the thing, it said that she was wearing jeans. I mean, in the video, it's very clear she's wearing jeans.
Well, at the end of the day, it says Abby is wearing the same shirt as the day before. Yes, gray sweats with black writing. Okay. So some of the biggest questions in this live that we're going to go over, some of the biggest discrepancies or red flags that I'm going to discuss is the different accounts of what everybody experienced that day, starting with Kelsey had said that Becky called her 2 to 3 times while Kelsey was getting ready for work. So she didn't answer her phone. There's one statement. She was getting ready for work. Well, I thought she had already gotten ready for work and went to her boyfriend's house. Becky called Mike Patty around 4 p.m. and told him that the girls were missing. Kelsey called Becky back, and Becky had said, Libby isn't answering your phone. Becky Patty, in an interview, said to Mike Patty, Libby's not answering your phone. So whose phone did Libby have? Is this just a common misquote that Becky makes, retelling the same story over and over again? I'm trying, let's be fair here. This story has been told over how many years, how many times? So is this something that Becky does accidentally? She wasn't answering your phone. She wasn't answering your phone. Or is that an important detail that we need to pay attention to, because we should be thinking in regards that Libby didn't only have her phone on her. Becky has made a statement that Kelsey wanted no part in looking for Libby. When Mike Patty was called about the girls missing, Mike Patty said, let me put some things away first, then I'll head over there. Well, was it Mike Patty supposed to be at work?
I think he was at work at Caterpillar.
Mm-hmm.
He's about like 20 minutes. How far is Lafayette from Delphi?
I would say it's about 30, 45 minutes at the most.
Oh, okay. So that's about my commute, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mike said he parked at the trailhead and met up with Becky, and then Becky told him they needed to call the police. Mike said he went up the hill to the trailhead and called the sheriff's department. Before he said he called a reserve officer friend of his and asked him for the number of the sheriff's department. So all of these little intricate things that I'm highlighting here on the screen is how important do we think these things are? Do we think that these are things that need to be focused on, or do we think that over the course of 8 years have been taken out of context and we can't expect these people to tell the same exact story the same exact way every single time? So I'm just trying to keep it real. I'm trying to be fair across the board in what we're discussing. Yes, the original story was that Derek German was supposed to pick them up. If you guys see anything in chat that I need to pay attention to, let me know.
Yeah, and also they called Carrie to ask her if Libby was there in Kentucky. Like that was weird.
So next up is Kelsey said after she received the call from her grandma, she ran. Wait a second. Did I skip it? I think I did. Oh, no. After she received the call from her grandma, she ran back to the bridge, back to Freedom Bridge, where she was running. Where was she running from? That was the question that was proposed in one of these chats that I was going through. Kelsey said she really didn't want to be there. She really didn't want, well, we'll get back to that. That was just random thoughts I was putting in here. Go ahead, Streets.
I'm good. Go ahead. I have Tourette's.
All of this stuff is overwhelming. It really is. So
I have a hard time, full disclosure on me. I have said harsh things about Becky Patty, but like the little angry little foster girl inside of me adores Becky Patty. So sometimes I don't want to think that she's lying. I just think that there was just a lot going on, and this you're trying to put it all together in your head, and I can imagine that it was just difficult to remember everything. I mean, there are inconsistencies that do quite make me question her, but I'm not like, sometimes I feel like we're too hard on Becky, but I'm sorry, bad. Full disclosure, I like Becky, but I think she's, not telling the truth sometimes, but I think she does it to protect her family, which, for me is fair. I don't know. Don't listen to me.
So, the question on the screen is, has the public created all the strange vibes? Have we done this? Or do we have good reason to question everything?
Probably stuck there unless they'll be able to get out of there.
Well, I mean, when you talk about do what?
There's a lot of flooding going on in Nashville and
Yeah, but even when he has, I mean, he might have trouble with water in the stone room, but even.
Oh, I had to mute Michael. Sorry.
I was going to say, what is he?
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know what that was. Yeah. We have good reason.
Deep information right there.
Yeah, I mean, my question is for all of us. I mean, has the public created all the strange vibes, or do we have good reason to question the vibes? And then we see things like this and we go, well,
hello.
Yeah.
Just making sure you're still there.
Yeah, I'm still here. I mean, the pictures on the screen, yeah.
That is, I'm not going to comment. I mean, there's so many things you could say about, I mean, Kelsey is, I mean, I don't know.
So that's the crossroads that we're at.
Yeah.
That is Kelsey and that is Mike Patty.
I mean, you could take that in any way. I mean, I'm sure if you were to take a snapshot of me talking to my father, a bunch of them, and, still frame one of them, you could find me making some sort of googly eyes at my dad, but like not in a. I don't know. Like, I'm really close with my dad, and like I hug him all the time, and like I'm gonna shut up.
I mean, these are things that it is what it is, and these are things that are circulating out there that you have to. I don't have to address them, but I put these on here simply for the fact that when I say we have strange vibes, and when we hear
it is strange.
It is strange.
I will give you that. It is strange.
It could be nothing. It could be something. It just, it could be, I don't know. And I feel like over the years, I have never really wanted to look at the family in this way. And I think just discussing it out in the open sometimes can, put it to bed, or it can open a whole nother can of worms.
Yeah. I will say, like, I'm a first responder, and I have seen, my picture. I've seen myself on the news, and I've seen pictures of me on like I live in a very specific area of Los Angeles, and we have a scanner page on Facebook, and there's a person who follows ambulances around and takes pictures of us on scene. And I have seen my face in some really weird contorted positions, and I knew what I was doing at the time, and it didn't match what I was, you know what I mean? So a picture does not always explain everything, but it does have weird vibes. I will say that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And I didn't know she had admitted to being molested. Who molested her? Actually, yeah, Becky Patty is older than Mike Patty. And Mike Patty was, God, I don't want to say this because I don't know if it's 100% accurate, but I'm pretty sure it's accurate that Mike Patty was the best man to James. To James, Sasha, and Becky's marriage. In Becky's second wedding, Mike Patty was the best man to her husband.
Mm-hmm. And we know, so this right here, I think, is where from the beginning of this case until we get to the trial, the hair found in Abby's right hand tangled around her finger is what brings all of these accusations and all of this into play, and why going back to the beginning of that day, are we dealing with a sweatshirt that Abby put on where she's putting her arm through a sleeve of a sweatshirt and a hair gets caught around her finger because they all
one hair, or was it like 7? How many hairs was it? Like
we're going to listen right now.
Yeah. Because I've heard like 2, and then I've heard like 72. If it's 72, that's a problem.
No, I think that number is the amount of hairs collected overall.
Okay.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Item 17 is the hair that was recovered from Abby's right hand that was entangled around her finger. They concluded that this item number 17 was consistent with Kelsey and the statistic that they provide, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, kind of what this means, is 1 in 800 trillion. As of March 7th, 2017, they had an unknown female hair. Nobody had asked to compare it to Becky or Kelsey until 7 years after the trial started. So that is the timeline and how that worked. She agreed her focus was on looking for male DNA, and when asked why, she said, well, we had indicators of a male perpetrator. So we had already heard about possible confirmatory testing that they just followed up on like within the last couple weeks. So earlier this month, they compared the standard to Kelsey's DNA. They had discussed in September whether they should do that and whether they had already received a standard. The lab says they had not received a standard at any time. So if one had previously been collected, it apparently was not forwarded onto the lab. It got lost somewhere in transmission.
My name.
So, I mean, that is where all of the questions regarding Kelsey, I think, has just snowballed forward and caught up once we got to trial. I know that Kelsey has made numerous statements about how many times she's given DNA, yet at the beginning of trial, they're saying they don't have a standard. A standard is when you have, for example, in a crime, and Michael Osbrook, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you have a standard, for example, let's say you have a victim, you want to get the victim's DNA and have a base standard of that individual's DNA. So when you are testing throughout a crime scene, you're able to identify certain individuals. So we know that we've got Libby, we've got Abby, then you've got Kelsey, who's her standard. Everybody in the family, I would have thought, would have been tested and they would have gotten a standard, especially when you have a DNA expert taking the stand at trial, testifying that you've got DNA that could possibly be in the background of the crime scene simply because laundry is washed together or people are living in the same household.
I have 2 daughters and I wash our clothes together all the time, and never once after washing our clothes together have I put on a hoodie and had a handful of their hair. It might happen, but I've just never experienced it.
So, Osbrook?
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add. I'm not a DNA expert.
Well, I know next Saturday when Dr. Silkman comes on, he's going to talk about this specifically. He is also going to talk about the seminal fluid found in the rape kits and what that means and what it doesn't mean. And I don't know. We're also going to discuss when we go back through and we listen to the DNA expert at trial who says that she was given hundreds of DNA samples. Dr. Silkman has worked in a DNA lab and he understands the protocols and he understands what it means when you're doing DNA testing and when samples are turned over. Does that mean that every single sample is tested, and how does that work? So that will be something that we're going to get into next Saturday. But I do know that at trial, the DNA expert said she was given hundreds of samples. There was hundreds that she said. Who was tested? We know that Derek German DNA was tested because that's discussed specifically. But as far as Mike Patty, Cody Patty, Becky Patty, anybody else in the house, we don't know what DNA was provided and we don't know what was tested and what was excluded. And go ahead.
When you say tested, I think what I understood from the woman being given hundreds of samples, the question, I think, and what was tested, what wasn't, I think the question is, and I could be completely wrong, of those buccal swabs, whatever she was given, from how many of those and whose DNA profiles were developed?
Right. And I think that's what, so, I mean, I guess, so let's say we have
from a lot of people.
Let's go with 100. Okay, let's say an even number of 100 buccal swabs were taken. This is anyone and everyone that they interviewed who was willing to offer a DNA sample, or anyone that they asked that willingly gave a buccal swab. They've got all these swabs. We don't know if every single one of those were turned over to the Indiana State Lab and every single one had a DNA profile developed. Because you would think that once you give a swab and you turn over your DNA, that now your DNA is going to be considered to be on a file. To where when they start running the tests from the crime scene, all of those swabs that they took throughout this investigation would be available in a database to where they're running these unidentified male samples or these unidentified girls, which I don't think they have DNA of females, they have hairs. But they would have something to cross check it with. That's where I think the gray area is here that we don't know. Am I right?
Well, I think one gray area, yeah, we don't know that, but I also think that given that they didn't do anything with the female DNA they found, it's an interesting question whether they even, because they weren't interested in women. Women don't commit these kinds of crimes, right?
Said who?
I mean, there was the unidentified female DNA. There's unidentified female DNA too, right?
Right. That's what when you, I thought you were being sarcastic, right? When you said females don't commit this.
Yeah, right. But they were completely uninterested in that. And I'm wondering whether they even took buccal swabs from any of the women they talked to. But there's sort of an interesting question for me, and if it's interesting for anybody else, we can talk about it, but it might not be. And that is, okay, there's this single hair of Kelsey's wrapped around Abby's finger. I'd want to see if it was photographed. I'd want to see how it was wrapped around her finger, and I would like to know what anybody thinks the mechanics of that getting there could possibly be, and getting there and staying there.
Right. I mean, I think, and
getting there and staying there through an entire murder, through being dressed, undressed, redressed.
Redressed, going through a creek. We don't know what the dynamics were in between. We don't know, and that's what,
taking pictures. It stayed there the whole time.
Right. From literally from the Mears parking lot. If that hair got on her finger, because to me, my brain, now this is just me, but my brain is going directly to, we're getting out of the car. Kelsey says, hey, take some sweatshirt. What is that?
It's my stupid thing. I'm sorry.
Kelsey says, take some sweatshirts, put them on. So Abby grabs the zip up. Now, is that Kelsey's or is that Abby's? Because I always was under, I can play the clip where Kelsey says both girls were wearing her sweatshirts. So if that, go ahead.
So, but here's a problem, and again, I'm not pointing the finger at Kelsey being involved in any way. I don't think any of. I've always thought the family knows a whole lot, but I don't think they were there. But how does, with their throats cut the way they were, their both of their hands should have been covered in blood, and they weren't. Right?
1,000,000%. 1,000,000%.
Abby's hands weren't, but Libby did have blood, didn't she? I think Libby had blood on her hands from this photo that I saw.
A very little, if she did, I think.
Yeah.
But the question for me is how that hair, Abby had to have been washed, right? So that hair go ahead. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm
No. See, and that is the thing that is what is so frustrating about this case. And I'm just going to come out and say it. I have read, researched, reviewed all kinds of cases. And I understand that there's 2 young girls involved in this case. However, I can pull up right now hundreds of cases that involve children where the crime scene photos have been released. And I think for a lot of people, these crime scene photos are going to say a lot, because I look at these crime scene photos, and don't get me wrong, I have not seen them all. I look at Libby. Libby is nude. They testified, the expert, what is his name? Is it Cecil? Is that right? Who testified but the crime scene? Cicero testified that Abby was upright and moving around. And then at some point went into a sitting position. And he doesn't really elaborate from there what happened other than the fact that she was moved to her final resting position. Now, if someone is standing up, walking around, and they are cut in the manner that Libby was cut, the entire front of her would be covered. And it is not. it almost looks as though like she had had something like a shirt on, and the blood was kind of around like a bib underneath of her neck, but it looks white. It's not a dripping, pouring down the front of her. And all I can say is go over and pull up the crime scene images, because they're out there, of Nicole Brown Simpson, O.J. Simpson's ex-wife, who her throat was cut at the scene. And I'm telling you right now, there's not even a quarter of that amount of blood on Libby at this crime scene.
And the blood on her
Abby,
face is weird.
you can't, I mean, I don't understand it. So when people say the girls weren't killed there, I tend to agree. That's my personal opinion. But again, with this case, I'm open to anything. But Abby, you don't see blood on her anywhere. And to say that she was washed, I mean, it's very possible. And the only way that could have happened is if the girls were taken somewhere else.
I wish they would have included in the testimony about the coroner's report of the state of death that the girls were in. Were they in rigor, ligor, liver? That would tell us a lot about when they were put there and when they were staged.
Yeah, but they can't do that because the bodies were refrigerated, at least refrigerated, possibly frozen on their way to Terre Haute to see Dr. Kaur.
That is fucking ridiculous. Like he should have, I mean, I just know that
that's
had
only
they
the
put
beginning. That's only the beginning of the ridiculousness.
like
Yeah.
the stage of death should be the first thing. And with stage of death, we could tell you exactly when they were put there, when they were staged, because there's no way if they're in full rigor and they're staged with Libby's arm going straight up, the coroner is not going to be able to tell, because that will break bones, muscles, everything. So like if she's in full rigor, but if she's out of rigor and in liver or liger, God, I'm fucking horrible at that, liger, then it would be easy to pose her, but that would have been like 12 to 18 hours after the death. So knowing the stage of death of both girls would have been extremely helpful in knowing whether or not they were killed there, and conveniently that was left out.
And again, I don't know, I don't know what effect, refrigerate. I don't know if they were refrigerated or frozen, and B, I don't know what the effect of that is. If you can take that into account, or if it could have been taken into account once the Terre Haute.
I think that I think in preservation of the bodies with the, okay, let's just say, the girls went missing on the 13th. They weren't found until early afternoon on the 14th. Obviously, they're there at the crime scene until the evening hours because they're processing the crime scene. So now the girls have been out there for over 24 hours. Refrigerating them, of course, is going to keep, their state intact. But at least at that point, we would have gotten stomach contents.
And yeah.
Like we don't even have the stomach content, which is so frustrating to me in this case, because that would give you would know based on their stomach contents, obviously what they ate last, how long it takes for the digestive system to process, based on
you ask
the
what
video.
Kind of you see what the stage of digestion is, and that'll tell you time of death. That, along with stage of death, there's like a ton of ways that these questions could be answered that they purposely left out.
Well, what you might also know is if they had been later given something to eat.
Right.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, exactly. If they went somewhere with somebody, I mean, I'm sorry, but teenagers are teenagers. And that down the hill could have been, we're going somewhere for a couple hours, or we can go somewhere for a half hour until dad picks us up. And not knowing that they were getting into a vehicle that was going to take them to their doom. But you would know if they went somewhere, went through a drive-through and went to someone's house, ate some chips, did whatever. It just seems unfathomable to me that a crime of this magnitude in that area, that the stomach contents, when they know that they did not take a they didn't take a rectal temperature because of the fact that they wanted to do a rape kit. So that right there is out. The time that they were out exposed to the elements, then they were refrigerated. Literally the last resort is the stomach contents. And we don't even get that. That's frustrating.
Yeah, I assume that there were stomach contents in the autopsy report, and I'm sure that's in the discoveries that the trial lawyers have. And my guess is if there was any hay to be made out of those, they'd have made that hay. You mentioned, you thought at least that the bodies had been moved. There are two things that make me relatively certain that they were moved. One was the FBI search warrant, which says there was evidence the bodies had been moved and staged.
Mm-hmm.
And second is the drone footage, the infrared camera. And I've done it. You can go out and look. People use drones all the time these days to find deer they've killed. Deer they've shot that have run away, and they're trying to find the deer. And
That's cheating.
Those live deer stand out. Brilliantly stand out on infrared video. And
yeah. And to be honest,
those bodies.
I've reached out to the man who was, I believe he was called out there by Tobe Lesenby with his thermal drone, and literally begged him, like, please come on, like, do you still have the footage? Because I don't know if his drone records or how, because I know that they're all different, but asking him, like, do you have that footage from that day? Because we know that at that point in time, in that early evening, the girls were not seen there on that drone. Thank you, Dieter. Thank you, Crystal Pistol, for the super chats. Thank you so much.
Transcripts.
Yeah. Well, we're waiting on just the 128 gig USB drive. So
yeah,
we're just waiting on that.
The exhibits are obviously going to be interesting, but the crime scene photos, that was a mistake. I don't really have much against. I don't think it's necessary, but didn't think it was necessary. But I don't have much against crime scene photos that involve pictures of girls or parts of girls being sealed, but there's no reason the rest of the crime scene photographs should be sealed.
To see where everything was located. Like, I'm not a queasy person, and it's not about the gruesomeness of a crime scene. It's not that for me. It's more about looking at it. Not, and who am I? I'm nobody. That's all that we're left with. We don't, any, like, their crime scene reenactment guy didn't do it until 7 years later. Those crime scene photos are all that we have for anyone with any kind of an educational background. In crime scenes, that's all that they're going to be. That's all they're going to be able to go off of. Is
yeah, no, crime scene photos are key. And I've seen some of the leaked photos, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the photos in a quintuple murder I've been working on. All the people were shot. All of them were executed. I mean, there is blood everywhere. These are not gory crime scene pictures.
They are not. Regardless
I've
to what, that's why I'm so frustrated over the hoopla surrounding these crime scene photos, because they're not what I think people are expecting them to be.
I'm
And
actually really glad that you said that, because when I saw them, I was like, these aren't so bad. And then I stopped myself and was like, is that because you're crazy now from being on the street, from doing, what you do for so long? Or is it because they're not bad? You know what I mean?
Oh, look, I could be crazy. Look, you haven't lived until you've actually seen somebody's in a crime scene photo. You haven't, an autopsy photo too. You haven't lived till you've literally seen half of somebody's head carved away by an axe.
Dude, I got a DUI like back in the day when in LA County, when they still made you do coroner, like they made you go do a shift at the coroner's office, and I saw some crazy shit there that day. I never
Yeah,
drove again.
and, in fairness, though, I mean, there is, you have a naked girl's body there too. I mean, that's the problem.
well, and I agree with that. And I mean, some of the leaked crime scene photos, her private parts have been blocked out. It's not about, to me, it's not about the individualism as far as the nudity. To me, I'm looking at these crime scene photos and I go, wait, I was expecting it to be a crime scene, not a situation where I feel like, okay, these girls were placed here and staged.
In the EMS world, it's a harsh word, but it's the dump site. That's what they call it. That's the dump site. It's not the crime scene. In my opinion.
30 years ago, I was in Hawaii visiting some friends. The tour I got on Oahu was all of the body dump sites.
Yeah. Hey,
no,
Michael, and
let me tell you.
Huh?
Yeah, go ahead.
What were you getting ready to say?
I was just going to say that I was getting ready to say that, for me, crime scene photos are key. Going back to this quintuple murder of mine, once I got the crime scene photos, like I found some key things that in those photos, looking at them very carefully, that God knows why the police had missed. I mean, there was a picture of the inside of a car where the ignition switch had been broken. There was nothing in any police report about it. The police simply they'd either missed it or not noted it, and that's really important in that case. The other thing was, if you zoomed in on one of the pictures, you could see the back door to the house. The deadbolt was on, and it was one you couldn't open and close without a key, which means nobody went out the back door. I mean, these are the kinds of things, seen photos that, where you've got the world looking at it. I mean, all of you people looking. I'm not saying I'm no genius. Everybody sees something else, and that's sort of the beauty of having, available everybody looking at stuff, because people will see things that other people miss.
Exactly. And that's what I want to do here on this channel with this particular case, because I feel it's going to drive me crazy not knowing what happened to those girls. And I'll be honest, like it really hit hard for me when that BG video came out. And I don't know why, other than the fact that I guess I will chalk it up to that video being the last time that those girls were captured. And hearing
she called me. She was like flabbergasted.
Hearing their voices, I was like just so taken back. Like, these are babies. even though they're preteen, you know, they're talking on their phones, but they're still babies. And to hear Libby's voice and seeing Abby trying to maneuver her way across that bridge, I'm just like, you know, my heart goes out to the families. Yet at the same time, I'm like, I want everybody, I want to give everybody as much as I can. I know that for most of you who think that I'm new on this case, I'm not. I've been around for a long time, just didn't have a YouTube channel. But I just want, level set. Let's level set this case and dwindle. Let's get rid of what can be gotten rid of, and let's focus on, you know, what we can do to make a difference if we can. That's where I'm at. And I'm going to go fill up my water cup. So Osbrook and Christine and Cherie take about 2 minutes and take it over.
Well, I want to go. Let's go back to the her phone, your phone thing, right?
Yeah.
So if I understood, and this is the first time I've heard it, Becky Patty said to Kelsey that Libby isn't answering your phone. Is that what she said?
That's what I've heard, but
Okay, so is that actually, like, is there actual evidence of that? I mean,
I don't think so because
no.
they
I
talk
mean, is there
about
some?
they talk about, well, there's a video of the night before there was a sleepover at, you know, Libby's house, and there's videos that before TikTok there was something I think called Musically, and so there's videos of that, and she has a red phone, like red Harry Potter, and then the picture Cleveland showed it had a purple case. So there's that question of whether or not she, you know, maybe there was a different phone. And then, but they talk a lot about how that was Libby's actual phone because it had been reset like a couple days before. They said that it was like there was too much on it or something.
It wasn't a couple. It was reset on the 4th of February.
Yeah, so it was reset like the week before, yeah, and so you know, that indicates that it was Libby's phone or had been her phone that she'd been using for at least a number of weeks. So I don't know if that was, you know, Kelsey's old phone. Kelsey got a new phone and she gave Libby the old phone and reset it. And for some reason, they just didn't want to say that. I think they've been protecting Kelsey a lot with how much people went after her at the beginning. So I think that when she says something wrong, they start protecting her, and that's where it starts to get skewed. But it is possible with the phone being reset that could have been Kelsey's phone. Kelsey got a new phone. But in the video, the Musically video from the night before, Libby's holding a red Harry Potter cell phone case. So
Precocent, thank you so much. I'm back. Sorry, guys.
Well, we were just trying to chase down the her phone, your phone thing. And the only thing, so the phone was reset on the 4th of February. You know, I still think that if for 9 days Libby had been using Kelsey's phone, it would still be a really weird thing. It would be a weird thing to say she's not answering your phone.
Right. Well,
and the only, and if she said, I mean, so you were away, Amy, and I mean, is there any actual evidence that Becky Patty said she's not answering your phone?
yeah, I'm going to play it, actually.
I have a hypothesis saying that it is not the Gryffindor phone in the Musically video. So I mean, I could be wrong.
Okay.
I have hypothesis gone over this a lot, and she knows a lot more, or she. I don't know if they know a lot more than I do.
I have a hypothesis. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but we do have Becky Patty. on video saying to Mike, Patty, she's not answering your phone, number one. Number two, in the Musically video, I do believe that we see the Gryffindor phone and another phone, and the Gryffindor phone is like a blood red case. It's got a blood red case, and that image of the phone found underneath of Abby, that is purple. That's where I think people who have obsessed over this case look at that and they go, wait a minute. Those are not the same phone cases. That does not mean that on that particular day, let's be real, Libby couldn't have changed her phone case the day before or whenever. I don't know the date of that Musically video that was made with Abby and Libby. I know that there was a Gryffindor case on Libby's phone at that time, but she could have changed phone cases.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that blood red phone case and the purple phone case from the crime scene photo, I don't believe that they can even be remotely the same. Yes, Spicy Cappy. There are 3 devices in that video. The one that Liberty's using, then there's one that Abby has, and then there's also the tablet. So they're like everybody just this is what I want everyone to start doing in this case is start not just jumping to conclusions and taking a breadcrumb and making it a whole pack of crackers. Let's start thinking things through logically, like, okay, could she have changed her phone case?
But I mean, yeah.
Well, there's one thing. I mean, look, if it's Kelsey's phone, I mean, one question to ask is, if she was given an old phone of Kelsey's, then she would have just, with the reset, popped her SIM card into it, reset everything, and her number would come up, and it would be just as if it were hers, right?
Not if it was her. Was that her first phone?
I have no idea.
Because I mean, that's right around. I mean, the age where my daughter started asking for her own phone. I didn't give it to her. Fuck that. But that's when she started asking.
This might be the clip. Let me see here. And if there's anybody out there, people in the chat, if there's anybody out there who's great I used to be really good at making videos, but that was when I had my Mac, and my Mac is downstairs and it's unplugged and it's got too much stuff on it for my business. But I have an HP now, so I can't use iMovie. If anybody out there wants to work with me on making some videos, please reach out to me, because I will use and abuse you. Okay, let me see if this is the right clip. If not, I'm going to have to go find it. Let me see here about Becky.
Who's an adult? Libby's not an adult. Libby's 14 years old.
Went missing. Said, "What are you talking about on the phone? I don't see her." So that's when I started calling, and my daughter works with me, and she started calling, and we started texting and messaging, and about 4 o'clock, we knew that's not like Libby not to answer a phone. So we're thinking, okay, what's going on?
Yeah.
At that point in time, we weren't thinking something serious at this time. And so I called Mike and said, hey, Libby's not answering your phone. They're at the trails. We're going to head over and start looking. And said, I'll meet you there. So my daughter went on over. Derek's there. My daughter went on over, and her partner, she called her, and she met her there. And I ended up calling Kelsey at work, and she came back and started.
She left work. Where was she working?
Okay, there that is. And did we just hear that? She called Kelsey at work. No, she said your phone.
Yeah, but she said before that
Libby wasn't
Libby
answering her
wasn't.
phone.
Yeah.
Yep. You're right. And see, and that's why we're doing this, because some of these things can be debunked and some of these things can be taken off the table. So at 4 o'clock, she just said at 4 o'clock, let me go back and play that. Now let's
Take the comment off on the bottom so we can read the subtitles.
okay. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Not answering your phone. Okay, did that play for the second time?
No.
It didn't? Oh crap, I'm sorry.
You know, Libby's not answering the phone. They're at the trails. We're going to head over there and start looking. And he said, I'll meet you there. So now, my daughter works with me, and she started calling, and we started texting. And
Sorry, I'm trying to get it right where it needs to be. Sorry.
Libby's not answering her phone. I don't see her. So that's when I started calling, and my daughter works with me, and she started calling, and we started texting and messaging. And about 4 o'clock, we knew that's not like Libby not to answer her phone. So we're thinking, okay, what's going on?
Yeah.
At that point in time, it wasn't anything. We weren't thinking something serious at this time. And so I called Mike and said, hey, you know, Libby's not answering her phone. They're at the trails. We're going to head over there and start looking. And he said, I'll meet you there. So now, my daughter went on over. Derek's there. My daughter went on over, and her partner, she called her, and she met her there. Ended up calling Kelsey at work, and she came back and started.
She left work.
She left work.
Where was she working at the time?
Derek.
Okay.
Just right in town.
Yeah.
Okay, so we heard that. Let's move on. So that was about 4 o'clock. Then we have this post here from Anna Williams on February 13th at 3:49. So this is at 3:49 that day. Attention, if anyone has seen Abigail or Liberty German, please contact myself or the sheriff's department immediately. The girls haven't been in contact for about 3 hours.
Well, of course, that's really interesting because that goes with the FBI's timeline where Nicole Robertson, the FBI agent, and the Logan search warrant says the girls arrived around 1, but that's not right.
Well, so I'm just thinking from like a parent standpoint. So I get this phone call. I'm at work, like Anna was. The girls are missing. Well, how seriously are they missing? When, do we have phone calls going back and forth? Like, I don't know, Derek's out there. He can't find them. They're not answering the phone. Let me call you back. So how much time goes by between Anna getting notified about the girls missing before she makes this Facebook post? Because this Facebook post was made at 3:49. And then I threw up here on the far top right corner a comment along with this, what says, I'm really confused about this because this was at 3:49. I didn't think they called law enforcement until after 5. And the time the girls left Becky's was around 1:30. So that'd be 2 hours, not 3. Just putting it all out there for everybody's
Am
eyes
I
to
a
see.
horrible parent for thinking they freaked out really fast? Am I horrible for thinking that? Like you freaked out really fast? Or is that normal? Because I'm a little, it takes a little
Well, I
bit
mean,
to,
if we're going back to the beginning, I mean, there is
Okay, so
still this thing out there.
So Carla Ann just said Anna was working and didn't get the message right away. Okay, if that's true, what's right away? Did the message come in at 3:30? I mean, I'm just saying, putting into perspective this timeline and this BG video that we know when the girls were taken down the hill versus when they were dropped off. I mean, you're talking literally 20 some minutes.
what is the time zone of the person who took that picture? Because the time would appear as if in their time zone. So it could be someone like in Arizona who took that picture or screenshot.
This is Anna Williams' post and it has the date and time from her Facebook. It doesn't matter where you would be to screenshot that. The time and the timestamp wouldn't change. February 13th at 3:49 p.m. So that is 10 till 4. That is literally what, 20 some minutes after. No. I'm thinking no. So never mind. My brain just went on a Fruit Loop run. Never mind. That's 10 till 4. Yeah, they knew something was wrong much earlier. I agree. ACV.
Well, I mean, it goes back to, the scrubbed trailer clip that everybody who's, there are people who claim to have seen it personally, but it's been scrubbed from the internet. The Dr. Phil clip, Becky Patty saying the first thing I said to Mike was, "They have our girl."
Yeah. Yep. Judge Jessica, she says, Dr. Phil. There's a lot of things that have been scrubbed. We're going to get into all of that in this series. Like, just strap in. And everybody in chat, I think if you're going to do these lives with us, get a pen and paper and start taking notes. Like, seriously, start taking notes. Because...
Hey, R&M.
Huh?
Well,
Said hi, R&M. Hi, Ange.
Hi, R&M. Hi, Angie.
Start writing to the producers of the Dr. Phil show saying, "Could we please have that trailer clip?"
Now, so this message right here, there's Derek German. This message right here from a family member of Mike Patty says they didn't call Derek until 2:30 to pick them up. And he got there at 3 and they weren't there. And this person says, I doubt they voluntarily went into the woods. So I thought the girls made the phone call on the way to the bridge.
That is a big man.
My understanding is, and I'm going to go check something later, but my understanding is they called Derek. They were supposed to have called Derek before they ever left because they couldn't go unless somebody could pick them up.
Right. So I can say
they didn't call. Who's saying they didn't call Derek until 2:30?
It's on the screen. Lisa Patty, who's she's a sister-in-law, I believe, to Mike Patty. Sister-in-law, or she's related to Mike Patty. that she made a Facebook post that says they called her dad at 2:30 to pick them up. He got there at 3 and they weren't there.
So they called Mike Patty to pick them up?
No, they called Derek. They called her dad. They called Derek to pick them up at 2. It says they called her dad at 2:30 to pick them up. Well, they were supposedly dropped off at 1:49. My
I
understanding
thought
was
they called on the way. Is what I was. That's what.
that's what I've always heard. But Michael is right, because the whole storyline has always been they could go if they had a way home. Now I'm gonna take the glitter out of my pockets and throw it to the wind, because I had 3 kids. I know how teenagers work, and just because I say, oh, well, as long as your dad can pick you up, they're like, okay. They will go on about their business and worry about the repercussions later. So the fact that they didn't call Derek before they left, to me, is not that big of a deal. But to be driving there and literally dropped off out there at the trails with no ride home, that to me seems a little bit of a stretch. So the fact
I
that
think
they were
with it being so close to Abby's house, it's not out of the parameter of impossible, though.
That's
Well,
true.
Because Abby's
it's not,
grandparents were home.
and
I
it's not
think.
out of the realm of impossible. I mean, I don't want to open the whole DG video can of worms, but to me, that Libby talking to herself, I just can't get past that they're meeting somebody when she says, "This is the path there is no path. This is the path that we go down." That's before Bridge Guy ever arrives. This is the path that we go down. They've gotten instructions, I think, to meet somebody. And that's why they're on the south end of the bridge, because otherwise I don't think they'd have crossed the bridge, because Abby was a tremendous scaredy cat.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just this was not an accidental run-in with some bad people. I mean, I still don't know how exactly the meeting was arranged, but that video makes me absolutely close to absolutely certain they're there to meet somebody, and they have directions on where to go.
It's also interesting is that the down the hill is considered a kidnapping. That's what they originally charged. Sorry, my fireplace is crackling. They originally charged Richard Allen with the kidnapping because of the down the hill, but they already were going down the hill. So, like, maybe he was. But yeah, they already were going down the hill. They weren't being kidnapped. They were already going there.
I mean, I have to say, it's in the FBI search warrant. I think that, I mean, there can't be much question that Bridge Guy, whoever he is, was involved, because if Bridge Guy wasn't involved, I mean, Bridge Guy would be talking to the police.
Right. That is the one thing about Bridge Guy that nobody can ever, and even and that is the one thing about Richard Allen. I mean, Richard Allen did not have to say a word to anybody. He didn't have to say a word to anybody.
No one would have known.
Right. No one would have known. And the guy on the bridge who says down the hill, we've never heard from.
No.
Well, say that one more time.
I'm saying that,
which means which means he's involved, right? I mean, I think most people
I
probably
think he's involved, but they were already going down the hill. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
But it sounds like he's just confirming their direction.
Yeah, guys down the hill. Yeah. It's not go down the hill. It's very, I don't know.
So,
Well, the thing is, of course, the thing that's always left out in this and was left out from the audio for years is Libby saying hi.
Yeah.
So he says guys and she says hi, and then he says down the hill.
do you think that she says hi, or do you think that she says huh?
No, I look, I'm open to all sorts of possibilities.
No,
I hear hi.
you are 1,000,000% entitled to your interpretation of the video.
I kind of think she
I
might
don't.
be saying hi.
I think
So,
she's
okay.
saying hi, and I think that's their first meeting because if they just it's a conundrum because if they had passed, so I seriously think because of the Snapchat picture, which people can argue about its authenticity till the cows come home, that if they had been meeting for the first time, there wouldn't have, which is what they would have been doing, if they'd been meeting for the second time, which is what they would have been doing if Bridge Guy had originally come from the south side of the bridge and turned around.
Mm-hmm.
Which it kind of looks like he almost had to be doing that because there's just not enough time for Bridge Guy to get there.
And then that fits in with what Rishi said about Ron Logan pacing back and forth. That little trail right there that we were showing from the end of the bridge to the end of like where the thing is, that straight path, like that could be where he was pacing back and forth because that's where he's still not trespassing and he doesn't have to worry about Kay Weber yelling at him.
But then they would have. But what I'm saying is that they would have passed each other already, and whatever greeting is going to be had would have been had the first time they passed each other before Bridge Guy turns around, and which then turns the guys and high thing. That makes that a little off to me.
Right.
It sounds like a first greeting to me, which I don't think it would have been if they'd already passed each other.
Well, and I agree with you on that with that scenario. I personally, when I watch the video, I don't hear hi. I hear huh, almost as like when we went over the video, the Bridge Guy video, in that one episode that I did, where I always found it interesting that, Abby comes running off the bridge. She goes past Libby, and you've got, and we're all anticipating this Bridge Guy walking up on Libby because we see him behind Abby. It appears on the video that maybe Abby is indicating, is he coming? Is he behind me? Is he there? Whatever it is that you feel that you hear that someone says or that you feel Abby says, but Libby's back is to the bridge. Once Libby passes her and she's communicating to Abby about where they have to go. So to me, I'm a little bit thrown off on the fact that there's this strange man walking on the bridge. And it takes me back to what Reese says is that Ron Logan approached them and was trying to discuss with them going to see the animals or his rabbits, and the girls ignored him. So under that pretense, when the girls come off the bridge, is Libby still giving him that you're not important, we're not paying attention to you vibe? And he's walking up behind them, and then he says, guys, and she goes, huh? I feel like she says, huh? But that's just me. But like going over all of the things that I'm seeing in chat right now, this is what I do want to say at this moment is as much as we want to believe that there are things about this case that don't add up or things that are corrupt, all I'm going to say is that from the very beginning, before anyone knew what had transpired or who was involved, whatever corruption that you guys feel that there is, and whoever's covering up for who, I personally can't wrap my head around the fact that within the first 2 or 3 days, there was a lot of nefarious stuff going on. After the fact, possibly with Dan Doolin, the tip, all of that. But I'm talking about the picture of Abby on the bridge, the image of Bridge Guy that was initially released. Those things, to me, I feel there wasn't a lot of time in the chaos for those things to be manipulated or there to be an ulterior motive of nefariousness going on. That's just my opinion. I'm completely open to someone proving me wrong. I'm just saying this case does not need to be made more complex than what it already is. And if you take the picture of Abby on the bridge at 2:07 at face value, and you take the Bridge Guy video, whether the one that was released is edited or enhanced, the concept of the video and the timing of the video is all the same. The girls were on the bridge. They crossed the bridge. There was a man behind them. He comes off behind them. He says, guys, down the hill. The video cuts off. We know what ultimately happened to the girls. There's no question about that.
Let me put something to bed about the video.
Okay.
There are a lot of interesting things to be said about the video. I don't know. I can't wait to see the exhibit because people who were in court said the video that was released was not the original video. At least that's what it wasn't called that at trial, right? It was
right.
The murder sheet folks, Bob Mata. Everybody says it was jittery. It was. All I can tell you is the video that was released is straight out of the phone data trial lawyers were given. It is, and if the prosecution was playing fast and loose with something at trial, I don't know.
And that's what is so sad about this is because no one wants to. I mean, for everybody who's on the other side of the fence, who thinks that they've got the right guy, Michael Osbrook, I'm in your corner. You're a defense attorney. You see the other side of this. You see the other side of the fence as far as people being accused and people being taken to the ringer for either something they didn't do or bad facts being presented in the case. I am somebody, I agree that all of those things.
Let me interrupt you. Let me interrupt you just a second. I also want to make it clear that I think that's that happening pretty rare.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the police. 98% of the cases in Indiana end up in plea agreements. Now, some group of those people are either innocent or didn't do what they're accused of doing, but they're offered a deal, so that they'll take the deal. So they didn't really do it, but so let's just say 90% of the cases are, adequately done. They have the right person, and 2% of the cases go to trial, and it's probably actually less than that. Some number are dismissed, so that takes care of some part of the 2%. So we're talking about a really small number of cases here, and except for a few places in the state of Indiana, I think people can be pretty comfortable that the police and the prosecutors are doing a pretty good job.
Yeah. Well, we'll never know until everything eventually comes out. And I have no idea as far as the video goes, the overall impression of the video. we could, let's just pretend hypothetically that the video that was released was not the original video, and let's say that video was, you know, miscombobulated and wonky and shaky, and you really
Hang
couldn't
on.
see
If we
anything.
assume that, then we got a problem. Because
Well,
then
what I'm saying,
this is in the
is
phone data as the original, and how did that happen?
right. But what I'm saying is, if let's just say hypothetically that was that the original video is not what was released, what would be happening right now is everybody who has technology and all of these programs who could fix the video, they would make the video look exactly like it looks now. You'd be stabilizing it, you'd be trying to slow it down. So all of these things that are happening right now, I truly believe that we have an overall impression of what transpired from 213 on until the girls went down the hill.
There's also the obvious question of how did he do it silently? Cheyenne was there, other people were there, people were walking around, and you somehow managed to maneuver and get two girls across the creek silently without them running. One person, one 5'4" dude, and you don't hear a gun.
No, you don't hear
We
a
don't
gun.
even know if there's a gun there. But he
No.
somehow managed to silently kidnap two girls, get them across the creek, get their clothes off, get them redressed, put sticks on top of them with not one person seeing him. Cheyenne didn't see him. No one saw him. Derek was there. LaFawn was there.
All why he's in a panic mode after seeing a van.
And
And I'm
supposedly drunk.
sorry. I am sorry. I have been there, and I know that a lot of people in chat have been there, but I'm telling you, and I'm sure those of you who have been there, you know that if you go down that hill, if Bridge Guy has two girls down the hill, and let's pretend they're at gunpoint and he's got them undressing. Let's, you know, whatever the case may be down the hill. If a white van comes along that private drive, they're going to be seen. There is nowhere to go. You have the creek on one side, you have the hill on the other side. There's nowhere to go. If Brad Weber was coming around that bend and there were people there, 3 people either crossing the creek, standing there under the bridge, they're going to be seen. There's no place to go.
We lost Michael. Is he backstage?
Oh, no, we might have lost him. He'll come back in.
Michael, come back.
Catastrophe, you're absolutely right. The fact that that photo was not there, it's concerning. It's all concerning. And I'm not over here trying to pacify anybody. I'm trying to be realistic. And there are just some things that we are not going to get
I think
in front of
that's
us.
the video off the phone, though.
Huh?
I think that's the original video off the phone. I don't think I think that's there's too many that it is. No, I don't know.
Where are all the photos the girls took that day? Well, I mean, exactly. Those were photos that they did not present at trial, and they're using it for a sword and a shield. They're saying, well, these are minors. We're not going to divulge what's on their phones. You know, they're using it as a sword and a shield, and that alone. So, Michael, now that Michael's back, Michael, can you clarify? So now that we're talking about the phone and the phone calls made to Derek about picking them up, I know that you've got some information. When Derek arrived at the bridge or at the trails to pick up the girls, did he make phone calls to the girls?
Still looking into that.
Okay. All right, let's move on then. So we're going to talk about Kelsey for a
What?
minute.
I didn't hear the answer. What did you say?
We're looking into that.
Oh. Well, there's supposedly the call from Wilson's Bridge that Becky always talks about. The 311 call from Wilson's Bridge. They got some weird, funky numbers in this case, too. Very, very Masonic. All of them.
So going forward, talking again about Kelsey, did she lie? And we have, like, from the very initial day, did she lie? She supposedly went to her boyfriend's house and was cleaning out a truck. Did she go to work? Did she not go to work? There's questions about the search. Was she there? Was she at the fire department, the police department? Did she want to be there? Did she not want to be there? Was she crossing the bridge with Patty? Was she crossing the bridge with her friends? Did she contact Anthony Schatz? Or was Libby's account blocked? Remember, Keegan Kline said he blocked Libby's phone in December or January. So how did Kelsey get through to contact Anthony Schatz?
Does Kelsey know Anthony Greeno?
Did Keegan Kline have give any reason for having blocked Libby's phone?
Because she was annoying.
Except that he also said that then later he also said that he agreed to meet her there, but she never showed up.
Right. Yeah, that's all in the transcripts. When he does the interview with Detective Vito, he said that he blocked her because she was annoying. And then one of Libby's friends messaged him and asked him, "Did you hear about what happened?" And he said, "No, I was supposed to meet her there, but she never showed up." But if we're to believe Keegan, which is an absolute joke, he claimed in his interrogation with Detective Vito that he blocked Libby in December or January. This is February 13th. So if Libby is blocked, how was Kelsey able to use Libby's iPad and access her accounts and contact Anthony Schatz? Just throwing that out there.
I mean, how would Keegan Kline even remember that he blocked her? I mean, he's like selling porn off this Dropbox site, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there have to be dozens and dozens and dozens of people on this Anthony Schatz thing. I mean, how does Libby stand out? Oh, I remember I blocked her. And how would he even know that it was her that he blocked? Because I mean, we don't even know what name she was using the Anthony Schatz thing under, and she had a whole fake Facebook page.
Well, hold on. We're going to get there.
A lot of people, but the thing about this case too is so many people are just liars. Like, they just lie for no reason at all. And so, I mean,
I've been accused of doing some of that.
What?
Well,
I said I've been accused of doing some of that.
Well, I mean, those people are idiots. That we're not talking about the lynch mob, which I love that you coined that phrase. I'm talking about people like Keegan Kline, Anthony Greeno, Kelsey can't keep her story together. Becky's confused. You know, you got David Erskine text, is he lying or telling the truth? The only person that I've ever really found that has told like the absolute truth, and I think it's because they don't talk that much, so we can't like pick apart their words, is Carrie and Anna. And I think that's also because that's their daughters. If it were my kids, I wouldn't lie about anything. You know what I mean?
Well, here's an interesting post that I captured, thanks to the research team behind the scene. This is
Deanna's a rock star, by the way.
Yeah.
Deanna, if you're listening, you are a research rock star. You are my god. I want to be you when I grow up. I love you.
I know.
You are
I'm
my
like,
god.
slow down, honey. Slow down, honey.
Every time
So
I
this
open
is
my Facebook now, I'm just like, this bitch. Look at what she found.
right.
I love her.
And I can say, hey, do you have this? And within like 2 seconds, it's there. I'm like, geez, oh, Pete. Okay, so this post here, this was on February 26th. 13 days after the girls were found, or 12 days after the girls were found. Okay, I'm
And what
weirded
does it
out.
say?
I'm going to read it. This is a post made by a person on February 26th of 2017. Okay, I'm weirded out. This is probably just a sign that I'm paying too much attention to this case, but I went to Liberty's Instagram yesterday and noticed that a really strikingly attractive teenager had liked a couple of her posts. I back searched his photo and it was of an old photo of a male model, not a real person as he was claiming to be, but he claimed to have just moved to Lafayette. His profile was private and a typical phishing profile, but he only had like 50 followers. Today, the likes from him are gone, and either his name is changed or he's deleted the profile. I'm sure the FBI has already read all over their social networking interactions, but I just really wish I'd saved this profile name or emailed it to the sheriff or something. Well, we have the profile, it's right there.
Who is it? Oh, that's the Anthony shot.
Anthony Shots.
But who would say that's a teenager?
But the picture that they used of him, if you're old, if you're older, you would think
I would
that
look at him and I would look at him and say he's
a kid. I would call him a kid for sure.
yeah, I would say he's a kid. He looks like a kid.
Okay.
Do you not think so?
I can't see the picture on this. I'm on my phone, and so I can't get it big enough to really tell. I've seen some pictures of Anthony Shots, and I think the pictures I've seen don't look like a kid to me. But
If I were describing him, or if I was explaining something that he did, I'd be like that kid. I would just call him. But I think it's different with moms and women that are mothers. We see people as really young still.
Well, my son's 25, and when I see him in like when I see his posts and stuff, I still look at him like he's a kid. Like
Yeah.
like I have friends who have daughters his age who think he's like 17, 18, and he's not. He just looks young.
My daughter's 19, and I still think all of her friends look like kids.
Mm-hmm.
And they like go
All
to
right, let's move
Vanderbilt and
on.
shit.
We're about to go down some rabbit holes here. Okay, so what's going to come up in the future is where was Cody Patty? Was he at work? Was he out of town? Was he at a country dance club in St. Louis? Or was he crossing the bridge with Kelsey? And we'll discuss that in the future. But Pamela Tate asked, okay, so who was at the house when the girls went to the bridge? Question. Becky Patty answers, Tara, me, and a girl that works for us. My office is at home. Derek was in Frankfurt. Mike and Cody were at work. That's out of Becky Patty's mouth. The reason that's important is because down the road, we're going to find out there's a huge discrepancy on where Cody Patty was. Okay, Christina in chat, Derek didn't take the girls to the bridge. He was supposed to be picking them up. Now we're going to move on. These are more posts around that time frame. And unfortunately, most of these don't say who they are from, but they are from that time frame. It says the property at the end of the private driveway is the Sandifirst property. Now, remember, I just told you we're going down some rabbit holes. These are, and this live tonight is to open up the can of worms for future episodes of
It's not. It's not Sandifer. Sanders. I think Kay Weber
or Sanders.
remarried.
Yes, Sanders. Yes, Sanders. You're right. You're right. You're right.
Kay Weber. I think I'm not sure. Don't quote me on this. I may be wrong. I think Kay Weber remarried, and her new married last name was Sanders.
Sanders. Yes.
Okay, I think that's what that is.
So we're going down some rabbit holes here. We're just going to discuss some of the speculation around that day and who was saying what and how this case just literally spiraled out of control. So it says the property at the end of the private driveway is the Sanders property, which AKA the Webbers. The son of the woman who lives in the Sanders property arrived home along the private driveway at 3:45, missing the crime entirely. Now, are we talking about Brad Weber?
Yeah, we are. What's the date on that?
Unfortunately, this does not. Hold on. I'll have to go back and backtrack. And if Deeds, if you're in the chat and you're listening or you're listening on replay, we need the date on these stamps. So the son of the woman who lives in the Sanders property arrived home along the private driveway at 3:45, missing the crime entirely. And I just want to reiterate that I have said all along that when Brad Weber was put on the stand at trial, he knew, his mother knew, and all of us knew that the storyline behind him arriving at home was well past the 2:32 mark. Regardless to what the prosecution had him testify to, he knew
Because
that
that's how he got himself out of it. Everybody thought he did it.
he played, whether he was home at 2:44 or 2:50 or 3:00, he knew. Right. He knew that back then, everybody knew he wasn't home, and that's how he was taken off the suspect list. Okay, so the woman who lives in the Sanders property can be referred to as Kay. Kay had previously spoken to Libby about trespassing. The woman who claims the Sanders property's house is Becky Patty's ex-husband's mother, meaning Libby's paternal great-grandmother is Derek German's paternal grandmother. Both the house cleaner and Kay wonder why the girls did not run, because Libby was familiar with Kay Weber. They knew that woman, they could run to her property. So instead of going down any hill, they could have ran straight back to the property. Whether Kay Weber was in Arizona or on vacation or home, they could have ran knowing they would be running into safe arms. And that's what this person is talking about right here. Why didn't they run?
I said that. Didn't I say that to you when we very first saw the video?
You did.
If they'd been yelled at by, that's exactly what I said. If they've been yelled at by Kay Weber, they knew she was there. Why would, if they were scared, they would have ran straight, not isolated themselves down at the creek with this strange guy that they're afraid of.
Right. So Kay had previously spoken to Libby about trespassing. The woman who claims the Sanders property's house is Becky Patty's ex-husband's mother. Okay, so I've already read all of that. Libby was familiar with the immediate area. Abby lived a short distance down from the private driveway. Becky Patty's ex-husband, Brad German, lives very close to the private driveway. Down the abandoned tracks to 200 and then turn left. Kay says that the FBI and ISP returned on several different occasions up to 6 months later, searching for something on her property. So that is that thread. I will see for you, Michael, if I can get the actual timestamp on that. I might have cut something off when I incorporated it into the PowerPoint. The next one is Kay Sanders herself. Not only did we have swabbing, we had lie detectors. I'm sorry to ask you this, Kay. Did your son have one? Kay replies, I was shocked and very surprised when I was asked to sign off and release all of the trash that was collected from the front area on Monday. My yeah, my poor son has been through the ringer. He even had his mo- he even had his mother ask him if he was involved.
Yeah, Kay asked him if he killed those girls. If your own mother thinks you could have killed those girls and asks you about it, that says something about who you are as a person.
Yeah. I mean, I agree, Jamie and chat. If law enforcement could have put Weber there, they would have. I agree. But that is the problem with Brad Weber taking the stand, acting as if he was home by 2:32 when he knew damn well the whole entire storyline back in 2017 was
I
that
wasn't
he
there.
wasn't home. I wasn't home.
I was fixing my ATMs.
Right.
But now he wasn't because Mullen showed up and told him that he wasn't.
All right. Michael, do you have anything to say? Well, Streets and Cherie, take over chat for just 1 second. I have to run to the bathroom. Streets, did you hear me?
I did. I was trying to think of something to say. Put me on the spot, man. I'm not very smart. So with that, so with Kay Weber living straight ahead, Libby's great grandmother being her maid, and Abby living down the road. The grandfather did live pretty close, but not like super close. They wouldn't have been the first choice, but they were not. They had plenty of other options than isolating themselves down at the creek, down the hill. It almost was like that's where they were going to go, and he was confirming it. Like they had talked to him before, you know what I mean? Like, hey, we're going down the hill. That's not where you go. We're going down here. And he walked up behind him and was like, yeah, guys, down the hill. They didn't seem scared. If they were scared, they could have just ran straight ahead. It just doesn't make sense to me that they would go down the hill. And people say gun, but there's no mention of a gun. I don't know. What do you think,
I didn't
Michael?
hear it
Oh,
either.
sure.
I have a question. What Kay Sanders, when you say straight back, what I have seen on the south end of the bridge is it looks like there's some kind of place over to the right, but then there's the place over to the left that's Brad Weber's house, right?
So yeah, when you go, so when she's getting off in the path that she's running off and down towards, there's another like little thing, one of those red barrier things, and then beyond that, you're running into Kay Weber's like meadow, and then underneath the bridge, it kind of comes up and around, and so Kay Weber's driveway actually comes in at the side from winding around from underneath the bridge, but the path that the bridge goes off goes straight into her like meadow. People call it backyard. It looks like a meadow going up to her house. So I mean, I don't know what her front yard or her backyard would be. I assumed the creek would be her backyard. I don't know, but it's what I would consider the front of her house, and it's right there. And then if you go
Can you all
up,
hear me?
and if you give it drive, like once you get down the hill and you get to that private drive, if you run straight down that private drive, eventually you'll end up at Abby's house.
Oh, okay. I didn't know all that.
Yeah, everything is like, it looks like it's far apart, but and I've never been there. All, full disclosure, I've never been there, but I love maps. It's what I did in the Navy, and it looks like it's a lot closer than we think. It just doesn't make sense to me that they would go down the hill, and even once they got down the hill, if they realized they were in danger, why they wouldn't just take off like and went and like run towards Abby's house, run towards Kay's house. It just, I mean, two girls. I have two teenage daughters. They're little Irish twins, and they're not gonna just stand there while you kidnap them. Like they're gonna do something.
Scream.
Well, it seems like. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
So it seems like there may be others, but there are two major sort of division points on this. One is, were they going to meet somebody or not?
Michael, look at the screen. Look at the comment by Shaboogies on the screen.
What does it say?
They were rushed into whatever car is seen before Weber's van.
I can only tell you from the security camera video that I have seen that was, part of getting stuff ready for the motion to correct error. There's no car that comes out.
No, they're talking about the black sedan that drove in and then turned around and came out. Now you have to
Now the black sedan that turns in, that's at about 2:08 on the timestamp on the security camera, and it's back out within a minute. And there's no way anybody drove down to the bridge, grabbed the girls, drove back there in a minute and a half.
No, but I mean, I'm just saying in the overall picture of the scheme of things, there's time for that car to go in. You got Libby's picture being taken on the bridge at 2:07. If the car goes in around 2:08 and someone's being dropped off, they climb up the side of that hill. You got one guy standing back. You've got Ron Logan going up onto the bridge, walking towards the girls. He says something. They ignore him. They keep walking. He turns around and starts to follow them. Then they go down the hill, across the creek, and up toward Ron Logan's property. That does make sense. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm saying one of the scenarios that we've been told that's plausible.
Well, so where I was going was that so the first major division point is whether they were going there to meet somebody or not. The second one is whether they ever went. The second one is whether they ever went down the hill and across the creek, or whether they just went back across the bridge.
Right.
And I don't believe they ever crossed the creek, but that's.
You don't believe that they did?
No, I mean, if you believe, why would no? The creek was deep. I mean, I understand they're fairly shallow places to cross. You're not. Look, if you're going to go with the Ron Logan story at all, which you don't have to, although it contains, Reese's account of it contains some details that are pretty hard to attribute to anything but details only the killer would know. If it was about seeing rabbits and horses, you don't take somebody down across a creek and then back up the hill to go see rabbits and horses. I mean,
no. But so what is everybody's consensus on the water height that day? I mean, I know that there's little patches of little islands and stuff that the girls could have, leaped from one little area to another to get across in certain areas of that creek to get to the other side. If he says, well, hey, there's a shortcut down the hill up to my house, my barn's right there. Or if they went down the hill and once they got down the hill, that's when it was, you're coming with me or else. I know that we have animal hair. Lots of animal hair.
There is lots of animal hair.
Well, and that's one of the things that, really needs to be, so, part of, we're jumping ahead here a bunch, but
it's hard not to.
one of the things that needs to be established in its investigation. I don't know how it comes out, but there were animal hairs found on Abby, right?
Yeah.
On Libby's clothes.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, those were only tested to see if they were human or non-human. It was determined they were non-human.
But they
What
didn't
needs
describe. Did they determine what species or anything, or just non-human?
my understanding is only non-human, and part of Reese's account is that Libby was killed first. And I say Reese's account, it's obviously coming from Ron Logan and Klein, and he's only the mouthpiece for what he's been told. So when I say Reese's account, it's really coming from Ron Logan.
Right. It's not his account. It's what he was told. Right.
Right. But that Libby was killed first and put on a tarp in the barn behind the rabbit pen. And yeah, I'd want to know if those hairs were rabbit hairs, or even if they were horse hairs.
Yeah, and I've just and as we continue to go further into this series, I have obtained photographs, some photographs from inside Ron Logan's barn that I had never seen before, which I find are interesting. And it's hard to say. Unfortunately, the photographs are not dated, but there are big cages in there, and some have actual like roosters and chickens in them. But Barbara McDonald has told me directly that yes, he did have rabbit cages in the barn. I wanted to know specifically where the rabbit cages were located. Like, were they central in the room of the barn? Because when you hear that she was placed behind the rabbit cages, then the rabbit cages couldn't necessarily be up against a wall. So I'm still digging on that, but I do have some photographs that I'll go over later on. Not tonight, but stay tuned.
And let's go back to Brad Weber for a minute. Brad Weber had nothing to do with this.
No, I agree. I agree with you, Michael, 100%. The problem is that this wasn't just bad facts the state put on. Brad Weber himself knew when he took the stand, he was telling a falsehood.
And no, he didn't.
You don't think that he didn't know that back in 2017 that he was cleared based on the fact that he was able to prove where he was?
There is a police statement. So that's why I wanted the date on that Facebook post.
Okay.
Because that 345, that's what he told the FBI. And I am absolutely certain he was lying to the FBI, not about being home. He thought he got home around 2:30. That is what he told the state cop within a day, a day or two. I forget what day he was actually interviewed. He came home. There was a cop stop, and there's a police report where he says he got home at around 2:30. I think he told the FBI 345 to put himself as far away from that scene as possible. But his 2:30, he's wrong about the 2:30 by a few minutes, but by a few critical minutes. But it wasn't 3:40. I mean, we've got the van coming down, and look, if you're coming home, he checked out. He got out of work at 2:02. He was dropping off the van. We can actually show it can actually be shown with reasonable certainty that he didn't leave the Subaru parking lot until 2:08.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay, really quick. No name.
I've actually heard this before, that Ron Logan had a full bar. Like he he ran a bar at his house.
Well, no name in the chat. I'm going to put my email in the chat, and you can message me and we can get together, because he says I have full footage with all the things that are in there the way they were left at Ron's back buildings. That would be incredible to have. So I will put my email in the chat.
And when you send it, you need to describe how you have it and from where.
Right. Okay, guys, keep going. No name. I'm putting my email in the chat right now.
So, so Brad Weber's telling the state cops, so there was just a traffic stop out there he got caught in. So it was a day or two after the murders. He tells them, and there's a police report about it, that he got home around 2:30. And, he's thinking back, I was dropping off this trailer. I left work at about 2. 2:30 is about the time I should have gotten. I mean, he didn't know exactly what time he got. 2:30, given when he left, makes sort of sense. I mean, I've done the drive and speeding, and from the east side of the Subaru plant to the top of the private drive, it was gated, so I couldn't go any farther. It was 27 minutes. Somebody else independently of me did the drive, came up with exactly the same time. So I'm fairly confident in that time. You have to add another couple of minutes to get from the top of the private drive to the house. So call it 29 minutes. And it fits very nicely with his having dropped this trailer off and leaving the Subaru parking lot at about 2:08, 2:10, something like that, and not driving quite as fast. He's got a van, and he's probably not driving 76 on 65 or 66 on 25, and he's probably not driving all that fast down the private drive. So, the 244 at the top of the private drive, and his phone pinging at 250.
And I think, okay, so Michael, Julie Melvin's in the chat. And I just want to reiterate the fact that when we're talking about the van being seen on that footage, not only, I mean, people can argue the timestamp on the van or on that footage and whether it was Brad Holder's van or not, but his phone connected to Wi-Fi at his house. Am I right?
We don't know whether it only the FBI subject information.
Well, I get, so I'll put it.
Only says that it started pinging. So I don't know whether I think that sounds more like power information to me than it does Wi-Fi.
Well, because pinging, I would say I would say that in 2017 he had Wi-Fi. And I know that if you pull in my driveway and you've never been to my house before, your phone's not going to automatically connect to my Wi-Fi. It might bounce off of it, but you would have to have the password to actually connect. So he's either pinging or he's connecting to his Wi-Fi at 250, which backs up the video footage. But Julie Melvin is asking, she says, humor me, Michael. If someone else drove down the road with a white van, could you determine that if it was Brad Weber's or another white van? Do you have the license plate to verify? Michael. He must be looking up something.
Honey, will you go get Euros? Oh, I'm sorry.
Mute. Michael.
I'm sorry.
Or did we lose him? Did we lose him?
He's gone.
No, he's still in there.
Is he?
Or maybe he's, He might be having audio.
I don't see it. Take down the comment.
No? No, I think he's still here. Oh, no, we did lose him. We lost him. He'll answer your question. He'll be back. He's gotten bumped out once or twice tonight. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't understand the significance of the cell power pings. Pings, because I'd have to go back and read the motion to correct error to see exactly what they specify, if it's a cell phone ping or if it's Wi-Fi. I thought he connected to his Wi-Fi at his home at 2:50. Either way.
I connect to my Wi-Fi when I drive in my driveway.
So do I. Yeah. I mean, and when I pull out of my driveway in the morning, I know.
Yeah, when it lets go.
Well, Julie, and Julie, that's a great point that Brad Weber drove in the back way most of the time. That's a great point. But is Brad Weber going to testify, or I can we trust what Brad Weber says about that day? Hi, Michael. Did you hear Julie Melvin's question?
I didn't stream. I keep forgetting what a big time suck StreamYard is. Battery suck.
Oh, yeah. So Julie wanted to know if you had a license plate number on that video, or how would you know if it was Brad Weber's van or not? Because she followed up with that question with a statement that says Brad Weber drove in the back way most of the time.
Yeah, not with the van. I mean, it's just the van wouldn't. I mean, the Subaru might go through that back way, but the van probably wouldn't very well. And it could. If it's not Brad Weber, then it's not Brad Weber. But there's no car that comes out, and his phone starts pinging at the house. So.
And see, and that is the one significant thing about that surveillance video, because you can question, is it Brad Weber's van going in? But if there's no van that's coming out, then I mean, come on. You got to kind of say, okay, it's Brad Weber. Well, Cindy, you're right. That is what the prosecution said. Is too bad, defense, you had the video. But you know what? Before the defense even got the video, the prosecution had the video. And the prosecution has a duty and a legal obligation to put on facts, not to mislead the court. And regardless to whether the defense had this video or not, so did the state. And they're the ones who put on all the bad facts. And then you've got, I'm not even going to go there about the messages that I got this week about that video, but I'm just saying the prosecution has a bigger obligation to put on the facts, and they didn't. They chose to put on the bad facts, hoping that nobody would catch it. All right, let's move on. So another thing that makes you go, in this case, another rabbit hole, is this post right here that Kelsey German retweeted that says, this is Sergeant Jeremy Piers from the ISP Lafayette. Someone is spreading rumors we have DNA on 2 subjects reference the Delphi investigation. That is not true. No one has been arrested. This post was made on March 13th, 2017 by Sergeant Jeremy Piers. How? The bodies weren't even found. Or I'm sorry, no, the bodies were found. I'm sorry, the bodies were found. But he makes this post and Kelsey retweets it, but yet we do know that there's DNA on the bodies. And I'm pretty sure that we know that there's DNA on the bodies prior to March 13th. What is she saying?
Who?
I'm reading what Julie was asking where the camera was located. Wait, where? She said,
The camera was located. What's the name of the family? Sandefurs. It's off of 252, so it would have caught and it would have caught the van coming out the back way, going in the back way, and anything leaving by the either 252 or 163. Is that it? And any it would have caught any cars going in or out.
Catastrophe says this was Russ McQuaid's retraction on the DNA we found out at the trial. Yeah. But yeah. I mean, another thing that makes you go, why are they denying in the very beginning that they have DNA? Yet we find out at trial they do have DNA. I mean, this whole case, all of the secrecy and the misleading and non-secular, and he never said non-secular, and you've got the 40 caliber bullet sitting on the desk, but they're not referencing that. I mean, it all is just, I can't. So let's keep going because I got a lot in here. Okay. So, the next part of this series, we're going to get into deep into the night of the search. We're going to get into Tina Rodell's accounts, Megan Allen, and we're going to get into the search, the names on the lists of the searchers. We have all of those. This one I put in here for Michael tonight because I know that this was a big one. This is Taya Miller. Taya Miller is the one who called in the 911 call about the screams. That night during the search, she says, in the early morning hours of February 14th, 2017, a searcher by the name of Taya Miller was with a friend out on the trails and claimed to have heard screams coming from the other side of the bridge at 2 a.m. She said she called the sheriff's office to report the screams. She said she was told the officers were busy and to call back if they heard anything else. Taya is the daughter of convicted murderer Jennifer Barnes Dean and sister to Thomas Miller, who both Jennifer and Thomas worked for Anthony Greeno, and so did Jennifer Dean, and who was with them at the trails. I'm assuming everybody in chat knows who I'm talking about. Jennifer Dean has been convicted of murder. One of her co-defendants is going on trial right now in Carroll County. And Nick McClelland,
handicapped little girl.
Yeah. So to continue on, this is the rest of it. It says, me and my friend stayed out from 8 p.m. with the search party till the girls were found the next day. Around 2 a.m., we ended up calling the sheriff's office because we heard screams coming from the other side of the bridge. They said that all of the officers are busy at the moment and to call back if we hear anything else. We did not hear anything else until around 6 a.m. when a couple more people showed up. Around 9 is when we started seeing news crews again, and then we seen law enforcement. It sounded like, this is the next column over. Taya says, it sounded like the screams came from across the bridge and around the curve to the right of the river under the bridge. Yes, the High Bridge. Beverly asks, Taya Miller, did you or can you get the police report of the call? Taya says, I'm sure I can. Who would I have to contact? Beverly says, the police department. Just ask for the written record of the call. I have yet to see a copy of that written call.
I think the defense has the sheriff's department call logs, but I haven't seen them, so I can't tell you anything about them.
Okay. Then this next one is a.
I will say. I will say. Hang on. I will say this. It's not clear to me. She on the south side when she says the other side of the bridge. Are they on the south side or are they on the north side when she's saying that?
I'm thinking that they're on the side of the bridge.
I'm thinking that it sounds like that's where that little canoe spot where the Webbers is. And then you put
around the curve.
Yeah.
Except she says it's to the right.
Wouldn't that be
Well,
to the right?
if you're on the bridge and you're walking towards the south end of the bridge, that curve at the south end of the bridge that goes up into, like if you're facing the south end of the bridge and you're thinking of where Ron Logan's and Brad Weber's properties are and where the creek curves, you would say that it's, I guess, south and up towards the right. Nothing was going on the other side of the bridge, the opposite way. No, Taya is not dead. Taya, I know where Taya is at. Taya is not dead. No, she's not.
No, and we know who the friend is and where she is too. So.
What is that about Greeno? I bet she's the one chanting, screaming, graveyard circling people in the video Greeno uploaded.
Oh, no.
To his old account.
So Julie Melvin's asking again, Julie Melvin is saying, sorry to keep asking, but do we know what times were reviewed on the camera and was all of the footage of the entire time period handed over to the defense or just what the prosecution determined was discovery?
Yeah, the whole afternoon is there and actually into the evening and the next morning. What isn't there, unfortunately, is security camera footage from early in the morning on the 13th when Teresa Liebert testifies around 8:30 she saw mailbox guys. And the reason that would have been interesting to see is that that is an area of the world where nobody's likely to just be walking. Mailbox guy almost certainly had to have been dropped off.
Well, Adam Thompson, aren't you right on time? You said that would be towards Riley Park. No? Question mark. Let me get there. Let's go over this next. let me go over this next little excerpt here. This is Taya again on another post recounting the same story to somebody else. Well, it's Beverly. She says, me and my friend stayed out from 8 p.m. with the search party until the girls were found the next day. Around 2 a.m., we ended up calling the sheriff's office because we heard screams coming from the other side of the bridge. They said that all of the officers were busy. We've already read that part. This is a different thread, but it's the same, like Taya is saying the same exact thing. Beverly comes back. It says, from the other side of the Monon High Bridge, question mark. You said you heard more at 6 a.m. Was this also screams? Screams as in hollering, yelling, horror, what type of screams? Taya says, more people showing up hollering the girls' name. At 2 a.m. is when the horror screams happened, and we called the police to come help look again, but they were all busy at the what? I can't read that. They were all busy at the moment. At the moment, she said. Then the last post is, It sounded like the screams came from across the bridge and around the curve to the right of the river under the bridge. Yes, the High Bridge. So,
Well, the first, I've said this before, but the other thing, and I don't know if anybody else has the same reaction. I think I would hope so, and that is like the first place this whole thing went off the rails is when they called off the search. In what world do you call off a search for 2 missing girls?
right. All eyes. What's your question, babe? I'll squeeze you in. And I have, Apophis says that it sounds right about Weber's house. Yeah, all eyes. Don't have a stroke on me.
So here's maybe what's interesting about that to me, if it is right about Weber's house. So Brad Weber had a girlfriend over that night, and through an enormous screw up, so she heard something. I don't think it woke Brad up, but she heard something at about 4 a.m. Some big thump outside. It was enough to wake her up. She didn't look into it, but on the 17th, she calls in a tip saying, "By the way, I heard something in the night." And whoever took the tip down, either she wasn't clear or the person who was taking the tip screwed it up, put it in as she'd heard the thump on the night of the 17th, not on the night of the 13th to the 14th.
I see what you're saying. So those two timelines don't add up, because Taya is saying the night that they were searching, and you're saying that this other call that came in was on the 17th. Is that right?
Well, she called it, yeah. So this woman, this girlfriend of Brad Weber's, calls in this tip on the 17th, but instead of them writing it down and going to talk to her, going to look around the house to see if, there are footprints or anything, the tip is written down as she heard the sound in the early morning hours of the 17th, not in the early morning hours of the 14th, which is when she actually heard them.
Okay.
And we know that they screwed that up because she texts Brad Weber saying, "Yeah, that was the night that happened."
Could you let Streets in, please?
Oh, does she get kicked out? Sorry. Yeah, I can. Sorry, babe. Sorry, babe.
My roommate came home and he has this like super duper gaming computer, and every time he turns it on, like everything gets disconnected. He's not really my roommate.
An electric bolt.
He rents the mother-in-law suite, but like his internet still somehow fucks with our internet every time. Every time. He's like 21.
Okay.
He's in the Navy, so whatever.
So, Michael, so maybe I think this might have already been, I'm still catching up in the chat. So All Eyes is asking lots of questions, but why wasn't surveillance footage for earlier in the day available? Did the owners not share it? Nick didn't share it. Mullen lost it. No, I think Michael just said that the video surveillance from the Sandifords was shared for the entire day into the night, correct?
Yeah, I don't know what the earliest is. The stuff. I mean, I've asked about the early morning footage, and that's not available. The defense didn't have it. Look, it's whatever law enforcement collected from the Sandifer house, and I have no idea what that was.
Spicy Cappy asked, during which hours was Mike Patty in the canoe again? We're going to go over, I'll go over that. Let me make a note of it. I'm going to go over that in the next live because I have a lot of photographs from that time frame. And who was with him in the canoe. So Julie Melvin says again, she says, my point is, there is one alternative route from Weber's back entry / exit that crosses onto another property where you can enter and exit without being recorded, and it leads directly onto 625.
I'll look, but it kind of looks to me like you come out that ATV thing along the forest line, and then there's the gravel road onto 252, which leads down to the T at 625. If there's another, if you can drive out the other way, you can drive out the other way. Maybe. It doesn't look like there's another way out to me. I've looked at the maps and I've looked at the historical maps, but you know the area a lot better than I do, Julie. So I'm not saying you're wrong.
Yeah, ACV. No, yeah, from the text messages to the thump to the screams, there's no follow up either way. That's that's concerning, especially in a small town like Delphi. When so okay, so let me put this in perspective. Just only because I've worked for a police department, actually a very large metropolitan police department.
I've got to go feed the horses and scoop manure, but I'm listening and I'm on mute. But I'm just
Okay.
I've got
You're good.
Okay.
You're good. This is all like my personal experience and my personal opinion. Even working in a very large metropolitan police department, when something huge and significant is going on, it is something that is recorded. There's tons and tons of documentation on. From the original call in to the radio room, that initial call that comes in it's created into a run, is what we called it. It's a run. It's got the address, it's coded, and it's got the initial first details. Then that run is passed up to dispatch, where the officers are then sent out on that call. Anything related to that call is then added to that run underneath all of that. So when you hear people talking about a CAD system, like a CAD system for a police department, the CAD system is every single time an officer notates on the air, mark me here, Sergeant S12, I'm here, seen interacting with this person. All of these notations that happen are added to that run. So in a small town like this, which I can't even imagine, they have more than maybe one or two people working at the police department. All of this stuff should have been documented. And when you have a situation like this going on, and to this day, we still have no accumulative records of what transpired that night and who followed up on what or who or where, that's concerning. Because they have nothing else going on. They have nothing else going on. This is it. I mean, 2 missing girls screaming in the middle of the night. What else is going on when you've got law enforcement going in front of a camera claiming that they've got hundreds, if not 1,000 people out searching for 2 missing girls? This is what's going on.
Well, and frankly, that's what, has made me suspicious about Taya Miller's Facebook post, that the idea that even the single deputy on duty was unaware of what had been going on the other night, and somebody calls in and says screams, and he says we're too busy. I mean,
Right.
that's just sort of not credible.
I mean, I agree that, but I mean, this is the report after the fact when she's coming forth, she's putting her face on camera, she's commenting. Clearly, we have 2 or 3 different posts where she's saying the same exact thing, that she's being told they're too busy. Okay, let's debunk that with the actual follow-up of, we got a phone call that there were screams, and this is what we did to go out and investigate it. That's the problem. We don't have that.
I have no idea what's in the discovery about that. I think, and people know a lot more about public records than I do, other people. It's entirely possible that the sheriff's call log for that is subject to a FOIA request. And I did see that, I forget, it was on Reddit. Somebody claimed to have actually heard the audio of that. So there was a Facebook page, maybe still is, that covers police scanners, or at Lafayette Facebook page that covers police scanners in the area. And somebody claimed to have actually heard the audio of the call. But I looked for the date, and the place that, one of the Reddit posts directed me to, and I couldn't find it there. It doesn't mean it hasn't been scrubbed. But somebody claimed to have heard it. It's a little bit like, people claiming to have heard Becky Patty say in this trailer that nobody can find. The first thing I said to Mike was, they have our girls. These folks need to be talked to, or, attempted to be talked to. The other thing that's sort of interesting is Taya Miller's Facebook posts stop 4 days before, 6 days before Rick's arrested. I'm sorry, 4 days before he's arrested.
How convenient. And that's, as much, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm trying to give anybody credibility. I'm just trying to be level with both sides and what's realistic, what's bizarre, what's a conspiracy theory. Because as much as I try to lean towards, in the beginning, things were handled correctly, no matter what, it's just like the POIs in this case, no matter what you think or what you uncover, I consistently get a brick wall from the very beginning of this case as to what's real, what's not real, what's corruption, what's a fabrication of our imagination when it comes to all of the things that, these strange vibes of why would her messages just completely disappear several days before Rick Allen's arrest? Why would she even come out repeatedly?
I didn't say they disappeared. They may have. I only noted that.
I'm sorry. You said they stopped. Yes, ACV's Taya's stopped 6 days before Rick's arrest.
No, I think he was arrested on the 26th, and I think they stop on the 22nd.
Well, I mean, so let me ask you, Michael, the fact that you even know that, the fact that you even know how many days beforehand her Facebook posts stop, can I ask you why you know that? Like what brought what brought that significant revelation, this random person from 8 years ago who was out searching? What made you hone in on the fact that her Facebook post stopped? Can I ask that or no? Just say move on.
No, I mean, look, of course, look,
What?
people have been talking about Tam Miller's post for years. I mean, look,
Right.
if she heard screams and the friend she was with heard screams, they need to be talked to.
Nobody's talked to them?
Not with any detail about it. I mean, I think contact has been made with one of them, but no details.
Jesus. I mean,
I'm not saying they're not talking. I'm just saying that for one reason or another, the meat of the matter has not been gotten to.
right, ACV. Yeah, you said the real question is why does it matter that the Facebook post stopped? That does matter. That absolutely matters. But also what matters is the fact that key players in this case are aware of the fact that they stopped. That was my poignant question. As you know, there are some things in this case that get highlighted for specific reasons. And this kind of is one of them. Like, we're paying attention to this random person, and it all matters. It all really matters.
Well, she's not random. I mean, she's put herself in the middle with reporting these screams, and I only said I was suspicious. I take her report about screams, especially if she says was with a friend, pretty seriously, because you don't go up on a Facebook post if you were with a friend and lie about what you heard, because your friend is going to come out and say you're full of you know what. And so I just, the idea that somebody at the sheriff's department said, oh, Deputy Dog there says you know we're too busy. I mean, that's just bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying, the first place that you'd start with an investigation of this, to me, is getting the call logs.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a call? Was there a call at 2 a.m. from Tam Miller's phone number? I mean, it's not complicated.
I mean, I just can't. I mean, honest to God, I just can't imagine that in 2017 that Carroll County or Delphi Police Department doesn't have a CAD system to where all of that stuff is simply printable. The calls that come in. I mean,
Yeah, and I think the defense has them, but I haven't been able to see them, and I haven't gotten, there's nobody said anything. I don't know that anybody's looked at them. I think that there was some thought that the report of the screams didn't matter because it conflicted with some firefighter testimony. I really don't know. I don't know about the firefighter testimony. I don't care whether it conflicts. I want to know whether the call was made, and if the call was made, then these women need to be talked to. If they're
okay.
willing to talk, which they might not be. I mean, look, screams at 2 Bob Motta has said from the beginning, and he plays on every attack the timeline. I mean, screams at 2 a.m., horror screams at 2 a.m., that's case altering stuff.
Yeah, it is. And it's CJ Palladino, for those of you in the chat who are asking. That's who I've been informed multiple times. CJ Palladino.
Who?
People are saying there was a Palladino searching.
Oh, okay.
And they were asking which one. And I said CJ Palladino. And I will also tell you that Chris Spencer, who is, Jesus Christ, Chris Spencer, the stepmother of the Palladinos, is written on the search list as a searcher. And it's my understanding that her dad also owns the Railroad Crazy Farm Okay, ACV says look at I's post. Where is she? Let me see which one. Let me catch up. ACV, I'm looking for I's post.
I mean, the other thing about
are you ACV? Are you talking about Eye of Apotheosis post? Is that whose post you were talking about? Why were they out removing the trail cams the night of the search? And I'm assuming that we're going to allude to the fact that when Gabe Ellis was arrested with the minor in his car on the 17th, that his trunk was full of trail cams. Michael, did you know that?
no, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I don't know what trail cams, I don't know if the police in the Delphi investigation checked about, what trail cam checked with Ron Logan and the Leverts and the Webbers about, do you have any trail cams missing? I mean, I would have thought if they were going to collect the trail cam footage, they would have had to know from the owners where the trail cams were.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they go to collect one and it's not there, you'd think that they'd note that it's not there if the suggestion is that Gabe Ellis was out there collecting trail cams.
Well, this is what I have, and there is a lot of truth to this. I have Hypothesis says, and there is some truth to this. I'm actually in the process of attempting to get the actual, because I've never seen it. I've seen posts, I've seen lists, but I've never seen the actual real arrest report. And the real arrest report has in there, number one, it will have the license plate number that the car had on, if we're talking about fictitious paper plates. Number two, it will have all the contents of the car in it. But I have Hypothesis says Gabe Ellis was searching with that group the morning of the 14th. I want to know how you know that. When Gabe Ellis was arrested soon after that, law enforcement searched his trunk and found night vision equipment and trail cams. There is meat. Yeah, I'm aware that he did have night vision equipment and trail cams, but I've also requested the actual arrest report just to confirm. Because I haven't seen the real one. If someone has the real one, please send it to me. But
he also, I'm told, and I mean, I've seen the pictures. I haven't seen the actual Facebook page, but the pictures sent to me of two bloody knives on his Facebook page two weeks after the murders.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, I don't think he had two bloody knives on his Facebook page 2 weeks after the murders, because he was arrested on the 17th and not let go.
Yeah, well, as I said, it's it's part of Delphi. Somebody sends you a picture, says where it's from.
Right.
But I want to go back to the screams again for a second, and other than sort of the bizarre nature of just the idea of a deputy saying, "Sorry, we're too busy," there are a lot of other people out there still searching. I mean, it's 2 a.m. There are people still out there. Why is nobody else saying they heard screams?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I mean, everybody says sound out there travels extremely well. and it's just, it needs to be investigated. That's all I can tell you. But there are reasons to be suspicious.
Right. So I always thought so. I have a hypothesis is correcting me. She said he was arrested on the 14th. I always thought he was arrested on the 17th, but you're probably right. I have too many dates and things in my head. Okay, so let's move on. We're moving on to the cars. Another thing that makes this case so bizarre. So, like I said, in a future episode, we're going to get into the Tina Rodell story, which is the far left picture. This is the photograph that Tina Rodell, who is the mother of Megan Allen, who was supposedly out on the bridge the night of the 12th into the early morning hours of the 13th. They were supposed to have camped out there. This vehicle, this white vehicle in the foreground here with the man getting into the trunk, that is supposed to be a white Dodge Dart with a license plate number of G908510. According to...
By the way, hang on a second, Amy. If Julie is still in the chat, you might want to check with her to confirm that it's really the night of the 12th to the 13th that Megan Allen was supposed to be out there. And she knows that story better than anybody I know. And
yeah,
I thought it was I thought it was kind of just out there before sometime, but nobody's really clear about what dates.
My understanding was, okay, so Julie, if you're still in chat, please confirm. My understanding was that this vehicle, this white vehicle, picked them up. They showed up at Tina Rodell's house on the 12th. Megan Allen leaves with them in this vehicle, and they are heading out towards the Monon High Bridge with this license plate number on the vehicle. I have phone records, which I didn't put in here because I'm going to get into that in the next episode. But I have phone records from Tina Rodell between her and Megan Allen, where her and Megan Allen are calling each other in the middle of the night in the early morning hours of February 13th. So it's my understanding they went out there on the 12th. They went over to Tyler French's stepdad's house, who lives right next to the bridge. My understanding is also that they were captured on Tyler French's stepdad's trail cam, leaving the property, walking towards the bridge. They camped out at the bridge, and then shit went down, and Megan was calling for help in the middle of the night. So Cindy, Indy, please send it to me, because I only want to put facts out here and discuss all of it. So ACV says, Julie stated that Tina told her Megan was texting her at 2 a.m. the early morning of the 13th. So yes, they were out there on the 12th, spending the night, camping out, supposedly cooking meth, doing all different kinds of things out there. Something happened. Megan started calling for help around 2 a.m., which lines up with the screams. No, it doesn't. No, because the screams would have happened on the early morning hours of the 14th. So this would have been the night before.
There's a lot of stuff that's alleged to have happened on the 12th. There's an allegation by somebody who, if he's telling the truth, should know that there was some sort of militia exercise on Ron Logan's property on the 12th.
I have some screenshots about that too. We're going to get into. I mean, this particular day, the 13th and the 14th, it's probably going to take me 2 or 3 weeks to get through it all because there's so much.
But so it was Tyler French, and actually it's Megan. So there's a picture of a group of people on the north end of the bridge at 6:25 in the morning on 13th. Is that Tyler French and Megan Allen? Do you know the picture I'm talking about?
Okay, say that one more time.
There's a picture of a group of people at the north end of the bridge. The timestamp on the picture is 6:20 something in the morning on the 13th.
Okay, I have never seen that photograph. I've looked for it, I've asked for it, and everybody thinks that I'm crazy, that they don't think that photo exists.
Oh no, it exists.
So I haven't seen it. I would love to have it, but my understanding is that photograph was taken in the early morning hours of February 13th.
Right, and I'm just wondering whether that group is, I mean, it's Tyler French in that group.
Yeah, that's what I understand. Yes. I believe that is the group that's supposed to be out there. ACV says,
but I don't think Megan's in the group.
Oh God. Okay, so So some Precoscent says Michael Osbrook. Those pictures are Krista Burris, Carmelia Conklin, husband, convicted murderer, related to Jennifer Dean Barnes, etc.
Oh, so related to Taya.
Williams.
Nice. It's all one happy family.
Oh, great. Okay, so back to the cars. This burgundy car was sitting out there by the trails on the 13th or the 14th during one of the searches. And supposedly there's someone in the car. This is a different burgundy car, not the same burgundy car. Not this car, because this is an SUV. This car was supposedly sitting in front of the CPS building, which clearly by now has been torn down. Then, so there's those two cars, the white Dodge Dart. There's this burgundy car, the other burgundy car that was the SUV that was sitting around the area. Now we're going to get into Michael's favorite boxcar van that was seen, captured on the Packers camera. As you guys can see up here in the far right-hand corner, this was captured on Monday, February 13th, 2017 at 3:06 p.m., this black SUV. When we skip forward, you're going to see that the white box truck was off the road on 100 by Packers between 1:50 and 3:40 p.m. on February 13th, 2017. The car is just sitting there. No one got in the van or out, and its arrival was not caught on footage.
And about, so, you know, when I was watching the video when it was still available, a black SUV, I want to say it was a black Jeep, drives by it, and I was saying, oh goody goody, please follow it. And it didn't. I mean, it was this black Jeep goes by if it was a Jeep. And I don't want to stick it in people's head that it was a Jeep, because I can't be certain. It goes by 10 to 15 minutes before the white van leaves. I mean, there's no indication the people in those cars were together.
But this white box truck is sitting there, and then I had someone post this picture to the right. This was a picture taken at the Patty's property with a white box truck in the background. And do they own this? And if they do, when did they buy it? Because that picture was taken from their property at their house.
That's interesting. You say white box truck I'm not sure it was a white. I mean, now that you mention it, maybe it could have been. I thought it was a white van, not a box truck that was parked there.
Okay, well, that photograph from Packers, that looks like a white box truck. The cab on the back is higher than the front cab.
You're right. No, you're right. You're right. No, that's it. Yeah, no, you're right. I absolutely defer. It does look like a white box truck. Oh, that looks like so maybe it's a black pickup that goes by. That looks like the car that goes, the black car behind it. That looks like, so it's maybe not a Jeep, maybe it's a black pickup. Maybe the one, maybe the one that kind of threatened me when I was up there.
Oh, geez. What?
I'm back, by the way.
That's a long story.
What happened? I want to hear it. We got time. No one's in a rush. I fed my horses. I'm good.
It does look like a pickup. So you were being stalked by someone in a black pickup?
So when I was doing the drive time from the Subaru plant to the private drive, the gate was closed, so I had to go down and turn around.
Uh-huh.
So I went down and I turned around. It's a little hard to turn around down there, at least in a minivan. And then I drove down to the end of 252 just to have a peek, and I didn't drive the gravel road, but turned around there. And I noticed as I came back, there was a black pickup truck just sitting there before the T of 252 and 625, and it was just sitting there. That was tinted glass, but I couldn't really see the driver, except to say I could see I was being absolutely watched. I mean, this thing was sitting there right on the road, not going anywhere. It wasn't just checking their GPS.
Wow.
And that's fine. I mean, look, somebody drives down there, turns around. I mean, look, somebody lives down there, sees that they're getting ready to go. I can see why they might want to, like, what's this about? Especially if the guy goes down 252 and then comes back again. Well, that's a little odd. I'm which is, but I will say, I turned left and floored it to get out of there.
You aren't taking no chances.
I did not have my peace of mind with me, no.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's end this evening on Riley Park. This guy was photographed at 2:42 p.m. hanging out at Riley Park on February 14th. And I don't think
14th or 13th.
February 14th. If you look at the middle photograph, it's time stamped February 14th at 2:42 p.m. He's sitting there chilling, hanging off of a rock at Riley Park. Not looking like bridge guy. But he's there. Someone photographs him. He looks like he could give two shits. There's a search going on for two missing girls. He's sitting over here on the creek side chilling.
There's no search. They've been found by then.
Well, yeah, they've been found, but
the place is crawling with cops.
Yeah, he's just chilling.
So why is this interesting?
It's important because of the fact that there were a lot. I have when I keep going, I kind of bookended it with this simply because I have so many pieces like this of people during the search, during the morning of the search, that some of it, I mean, has never really been focused on or highlighted before. Just like this right here. Like this person sitting over here in Riley Park with 2.5 hours after the girls were found, and no one wants to know who he is, why he's sitting there. Not that it's a huge deal, but the fact of the matter is there's probably 3 or 4 other men that I have photographs of that look just like this, walking around the search area.
So what's this platform this picture's been taken from?
When you say what platform, this was from someone took this off. This was posted to Facebook on February 14th.
It looks like so in the middle picture there's this wooden rail or flooring. I don't know what it is, but it's.
I'm not sure. I know that it's supposed to be at Riley Park. I don't know all the ins and outs of Riley Park, and if there's a wood platform there.
So I'm just saying this guy's looking down to his right, and I'm just wondering. I mean, yeah, he could be looking at nothing, but sort of what would be down in the direction he's looking.
Right. I don't know.
I'm sorry, dumb detailed question.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, that's the whole point of me putting it in here. One of the things that make you go,
So remind me where. I mean, I don't even know enough about the area. Where's Riley Park in relation to the area?
It's about a mile. It's about a mile from Monon. It's about a mile from Monon High Bridge. And Adam Thompson says that the wood piece that we see in the photograph is a picnic table.
Okay, I mean that.
That sounds about right. It could be a picnic table, but my point is that I've got, as we keep going, someone like this, we see a lot of different images of, and they always say that a killer will insert himself into an investigation. And should we just discard every single random person that we see throughout the 13th and the 14th participating in the search or lingering around the area of the search? And can someone like this be identified? Like, who is this man? Let's identify him and move on.
So tell me this, I mean, stupid question. Is that the creek under his legs in the middle picture?
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I'm assuming it's Deer Creek, but it's further on down because this was supposedly taking it at Riley Park, which is about a mile down the way.
So it's downstream? Riley Park is in the Wilson Bridge or towards Delphi?
Streets. Do you know the answer to that?
I mean, I can look it up. I mean, I don't want to waste people's time.
I can't remember. Now I'm backwards. I can't remember. Someone in chat, Riley Park, is it south of the Monon High Bridge or is it north? Yeah, it does show you how rough the water was, by the way. Yeah, it does. The water was rough that day.
Yeah,
Okay, so I would say it's south. Riley Park is south because ACV is saying it's towards the Marathon gas station.
Yeah, so he's looking away from, so he's a mile away, looking away from the crime scene.
Mm-hmm. But this person, these photographs have been orchestrated as being a part of this case.
My question is though, so he's on the other side of the creek.
Mm-hmm.
And Riley Park, how would you get to where he is?
You would probably.
In other words, yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm saying you would probably get to where he's at from down there by Riley Park. So the fact that these photographs are being orchestrated to be a part of this case is not really a valid point.
I guess what I'm saying is, unless there's a bridge down there, and I don't think there is, so the picnic table's on the side the picture's being taken from, he's on the other side of the creek. So
right.
Where, I mean, assuming given the frothiness of the creek, he didn't cross the creek, where'd he come from? Because the entrance to the park would be over on the side where the picnic table is.
You would, right? So Julie Melvin says it's southeast. My point of adding this in is because of the fact that we have so many tentacles being incorporated into this case that don't necessarily have to be there. And people see this and they don't pay attention to where it came from. And they assume that this was right there around the crime scene, and it's not. It's over a mile away. That was my point in bringing this in here, because
and my point is that, like, if there's a path down there or something, he probably didn't go there on foot. He probably went there by car. And did he have to go through all the police crap to get there to wherever he parked? To walk down there. I mean, I just don't know the terrain and where the roads are. So
yeah, I mean, you just never know. But we are going to end it on that. We've been on here for 3.5 hours. So remember, guys, next Saturday, we'll have Dr. Silkman on. He's going to go over the DNA analysis. He's super, super smart. He's very easy to follow. He's great at what he does. And bring your questions. Thank you all for being here. Yeah.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, yes, ACV, I'm suggesting that this photo is a red herring. Yes, absolutely.
There's lots of red herrings.
Yeah, there is. And that's why I'm doing this. And we're going to go through all of these little things so we can get rid of the things that are not necessary, focus on the things that are, because like I've said from day one, Indiana, ISP, this case to them is closed. And if we don't believe that they have the right man behind bars, no one is looking but us. So good night, everybody. Huh?
She said red herring isn't even tasty, but I've had it with a really good orange sauce, and it was really good.
Yeah, God bless you all, guys. Have a good night. Thanks for being here. See you next week, or actually, I'll see you tomorrow. We're going to finish up with Ashley's second half of her brief. So see you then. Good night, guys. Thank you, Rochelle. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.